The pledge card already had my name on it. Mara Ellis. Someone had printed across the top in careful block letters. Under amount, there was a check beside $10,000. Under other ways I can help, someone had written Campaign Financial Coordinator. I stared at it long enough for the words to lose their shape. Around the table, 23 people were unfolding identical cream-colored cards. My father moved between them with a stack tucked against his chest, smiling like a deacon collecting offerings. "Whatever you feel called to give," he said. "No pressure whatsoever. There is no pressure whatsoever when a man announces that during dessert." My academic advisor reached for her purse. My coworker Tasha looked from the card to me, waiting for some sign that this was normal. At the far end of the private dining room, my brother Owen stood beside a foam board rendering of his struggling event space with the expression of a man accepting an award he had not technically won. Mom stared at the butter dish. Then Dad put his hand on my shoulder and said, "And of course none of this would be possible without our graduate." That was when I understood the flowers, the guest list, and why my mother had called me 3 separate times to make sure I arrived before 7. The week before my graduation dinner, I still believed my father was trying. That sounds naive now. At the time, it felt generous. Dad called me on a Tuesday night while I was standing barefoot in my kitchen, eating shredded cheese over the sink because I had submitted my final paper at 11:43 and had not bought groceries in 6 days. "I need your guest list," he said. "Hello to you, too." "Hello, college graduate." "Not officially." "You turned in the paper. That doesn't mean I passed. You always pass." It was one of those compliments Dad gave me that doubled as a reason not to worry about me. Owen was brilliant but inconsistent. Mom was loving but overwhelmed. Dad was doing his best. I always passed. I pinched another clump of cheese from the bag. "Why do you need the guest list?" "For the dinner. I thought I'd write a note to everybody. Personal touch." "You hate writing notes. I contain multitudes. You contain one pen, and it's usually dry." He laughed. Dad had a good laugh, big and startled, as if humor kept happening to him by accident. "Your mother bought me a pack. Just send names and addresses. The invitations already went out. Then I'll do place cards." "Mara, let me contribute something." That quieted me. I had paid the deposit at Bellini's myself. Bellini's was the kind of Italian restaurant where the waiters scraped crumbs off the table between courses and pronounced ricotta like they had relatives in Naples. I chose it because I wanted one night that did not smell like the citrus cleaner at Owen's venue or end with me stacking rented chairs. Dad had offered to pay, but his offers had a habit of expanding after acceptance. A paid dinner became a larger guest list. A larger guest list required using the Foundry Room. Using the Foundry Room meant helping Owen. By the time the favor finished unfolding, I would be wearing an apron at my own graduation, so I told him he could buy the wine. Apparently, that had hurt him. "Okay," I said. "I'll send it. Names, emails, phone numbers if you have them. That's more than you need for place cards." "I'm being thorough. You've never been thorough in your life. I raised you, didn't I? You participated." He laughed again, and because I wanted the version of him who could laugh at himself, I sent the spreadsheet. The next evening, Mom came over with 3 dresses hanging from one hand and a garment steamer in the other. "I thought we could have options," she said. "You thought wrong. I know you. You'll put on the blue one, decide your shoulders look broad. Put on the green one, decide the color makes you look tired, then go back to the blue one. My shoulders don't look broad. I didn't say they did. You said I would say they did, and you just did." Diane Ellis could get into an argument with you by accurately predicting your side of it. She swept into my bedroom and hung the dresses from the closet door. At 62, Mom still moved like she was late to something important. Even sitting down, she perched. She had spent 3 months recovering from hip surgery 4 years earlier and treated the entire period as a personal insult. I had moved into my parents' guest room to help, planning my life around medication alarms, physical therapy, and the exact amount of ice she wanted in her water. Dad called it a few weeks. Owen visited 5 times and brought flowers twice. For years afterward, Mom told people he had been wonderful during her recovery. I had never corrected her. She held up the blue dress. This one. I was thinking pants. You always think pants. They have a strong record. You are graduating from college at 36. Wear a dress and make everybody feel bad for ever doubting you. Who doubted me? Mom's face changed for half a second. Nobody. There it was. The tiny trapdoor in every family conversation. Step wrong and you fell into all the things nobody was admitting. She pressed the blue dress against me. Your father is excited. So excited he requested my coworkers' phone numbers. He wants it to feel special. Did he tell you about the place cards? The place cards? I watched her in the mirror. Mom was a terrible liar in one specific way. She became extremely interested in repeating the noun. He said he wanted the guest list for place cards. Oh, well, that sounds nice. Mom, what? Is something happening at this dinner? She smoothed the dress over my waist. Yes. You're graduating. I turned around. Nothing with Owen? Her hand stopped. It was brief. Maybe I would not have noticed if I had not spent years watching people pause before asking me for something. Owen is attending, she said. That wasn't my question. You think everything involving your brother is a conspiracy. No, sometimes it's just poor planning. Mara. I'm kidding. You're not, though. Neither was she. We stood there with the dress between us like a piece of evidence neither of us wanted entered into the record. Then Mom sighed and touched my cheek. This is your night, I promise. She sounded sincere. That was the problem with my family. They almost always meant what they said at the moment they said it. Owen called Thursday morning. Graduate, he said when I answered. Allegedly. You passed. How do you know? You posted a screenshot. I posted that I submitted. Same thing for you. There it was again. I could hear metal clanking behind him and pictured the foundry room, exposed brick, hanging Edison bulbs, concrete floors that photographed beautifully and punished every woman who wore heels. Owen had opened it 3 years earlier in a converted machine shop on the south side. He hosted weddings, retirement parties, corporate mixers, memorials, and one memorable divorce celebration where the former couple cut separate cakes. The space was good. Owen was good at selling people a version of the night they wanted. He was less good at figuring out what that version cost. You busy? I asked. Always. I'm replacing the bar shelves. What happened to the old ones? They lacked vision. They were installed 6 months ago. They lacked durable vision. I smiled despite myself. How much? Not calling about money. Then what do you want? He went quiet. Owen and I were 3 years apart, but he had spent most of our adult lives talking to me like we were co-conspirators in a family we had both survived. That was part of his talent. Even when he was asking you to rescue him, he made it feel like you were getting away with something together. I wanted to say I'm proud of you, he said. My hand tightened around my coffee mug. Okay, that's all. You're calling at 8:15 on a Thursday to express an emotion? I've grown. Should I contact a doctor? See, this is why men don't open up. This is not why. He laughed, but softly. Seriously, Mar, you did it. Yeah, you should let people make a fuss. I'm allowing a controlled amount of fuss. Dad's going to exceed the limit. Dad thinks volume is sincerity. He loves you. I know. That answer came easily because it was true. Dad loved me. Mom loved me. Owen loved me. None of what happened later required them not to. You coming alone? Owen asked. Erin's meeting me there. No date? I don't need a date to graduate. I didn't say you did. You said it in the tone. What tone? The one you use when you're about to recommend a man who owns 3 shirts and describes himself as an entrepreneur. I own at least 9 shirts. Exactly. He laughed again. For a moment, I could see us at 16 and 13 whispering across the hallway after Dad had gone to bed. Owen tossing balled-up socks through my doorway until I threatened to smother him with one. Then someone called his name in the background. "I have to go," he said. "Saturday, 7 sharp. I know when my dinner is. Mom said to remind you." "Why?" "No idea. She's in one of her timing moods." A cold little suspicion moved through me, but Owen was already saying goodbye. Graduation itself took place in a downtown arena that smelled like popcorn, perfume, and damp polyester. I sat between a man who bounced his knee through all 200 names and a woman who had decorated her cap with tiny battery-powered lights. When my row stood, I looked into the crowd and found Erin first because she was waving both arms like she was directing aircraft. Mom was beside her, crying into a tissue. Dad had his phone held sideways, recording. Owen was clapping over his head. For those 6 seconds, walking across that stage, I let myself believe the story exactly as it appeared. My family had shown up. They were proud of me. The years it took did not make the degree smaller. If anything, the weight of them was stitched into the sleeves of that ridiculous black gown. Afterward, Dad hugged me so hard my cap fell off. "That's my girl," he said into my hair. Mom fixed the collar of my dress even though it did not need fixing. Owen kissed my forehead and handed me a bouquet that looked expensive. "You bought these?" I asked. "I have layers. You have Dad's credit card." Also a layer. We took pictures on the arena steps. Dad insisted on one of just me and Owen. "Closer," he said. "You look like coworkers." "We have worked together," I said. Owen slipped his arm around me. "She means she has worked while I was nearby." Everyone laughed. It was funny because it was true, but not true enough to ruin the picture. At 6:40 that evening, I arrived at Bellini's carrying my graduation cap in a paper bag because Mom wanted it for the cake table. The private room doors were closed. A young hostess checked my name and smiled too brightly. "Oh yes, the Ellis event. My dinner. Of course. They're almost ready for you." "They?" Before she could answer, the doors opened and Dad stepped out. He had changed into his navy suit. There was a small smear of white chalk on his cuff. "You're early," he said. "It's 20 minutes before my reservation." "Exactly. Early." "What's on your sleeve?" He glanced down and brushed at it. "Dust." "From what?" "Mara." He put both hands on my shoulders. "Could you, for one evening, not inspect the wiring?" A waiter slipped behind him carrying a stack of cream-colored cards. Dad shifted, blocking my view. Then he smiled and kissed my cheek. "Tonight," he said, "you just let your family celebrate you. I'd settle for getting through the door." Dad kept one hand on my shoulder and opened it with the other. For one dangerous second, everything looked perfect. The private room glowed with low amber light. White flowers and blue delphiniums ran down the center of one long table. Someone had clipped miniature graduation caps to the place cards. A framed photograph of me in my gown stood beside the cake, and behind it hung a navy banner that said, "Congratulations, Mara," in gold letters. Mom stood on a chair, adjusting the final S. "Oh, good," she said when she saw me. "Tell me if that's crooked. You're standing on upholstered furniture. That doesn't answer the question. It's straight." "See?" Dad said. "Celebration." I looked toward the waiter who had passed us. The cream-colored cards were no longer in his hands. There was a stack of folded napkins on the sideboard, water glasses, wine bottles, and nothing I could accuse anyone of without sounding determined to ruin my own party. Owen came through a second door near the kitchen, adjusting his cuffs. "You clean up suspiciously well," I said. "So do you." His eyes moved past me to Dad, then back. "What?" I asked. "Nothing. Everybody keeps saying nothing like it's rehearsed." Mom climbed down and handed me a glass of champagne. "You are constitutionally incapable of receiving a surprise. That implies there's a surprise." "The flowers," Dad said quickly. "I saw the flowers. They're the surprise." Owen picked up his champagne and drained half of it. That should have told me more than it did. Owen liked attention, crowds, microphones, and any food small enough to be served on a tray. He did not get nervous at parties. When he was 29, he talked his way into giving a toast at a stranger's engagement dinner because their reserved room shared a movable wall with ours. The couple thanked him afterward. "Did you bring the cap?" Mom asked. I raised the paper bag. "Good. Put it by the cake. I was told this was a controlled amount of fuss." "This is controlled," Dad said. "You should see what I talked her out of." Mom looked offended. "One ice sculpture." "Of what?" I asked. "A book." That would have looked like a tombstone. It would not. The doors opened again and Aaron swept in wearing a red jumpsuit and carrying a bottle of bourbon with a silver bow around its neck. "For after the respectable people leave," she whispered, handing it to me, "you are the respectable people. Absolutely not. I have met your family." Aaron had known me since our first office job when we spent 9 hours a day in adjoining cubicles processing warranty claims for dental equipment. She had since moved into marketing. I had moved into operations, then school, then an existence built out of color-coded calendars and reheated coffee. Erin was the only person who never called my schedule inspiring. She called it stupid and brought me soup. She took in the room. "This is nice." "It is." "You sound disappointed. I'm waiting for the invoice. You already paid it." "Exactly." Guests began arriving in clusters. My Aunt Celia kissed both my cheeks and told me I looked 10 years younger, which implied graduation had previously been aging me at a medically concerning rate. Tasha brought a card and a small potted orchid she said was impossible to kill. "Don't challenge me," I told her. Dr. Patel, my academic advisor, arrived with her husband and apologized for being 2 minutes late. Louise from work wore a tie covered in tiny martini glasses. 2 women from my evening program came together, still arguing about whether our final professor had read anything we submitted. Dad greeted every person by name, not just relatives, everyone. He knew that Tasha had recently moved to Westerville. He asked Dr. Patel's husband about commercial real estate. He told Luis he had heard great things about the charity golf tournament his company sponsored. I caught Aaron watching him. "What?" I murmured. "Your dad's campaigning for mayor. He doesn't live in Columbus." Then something worse. Dinner started before I could investigate. Dad had arranged the seating, placing me in the center with Mom on one side and Dr. Patel on the other. Aaron was across from me. Owen sat 4 chairs down between Aunt Celia and Luis. The first course was arancini and roasted vegetables. The second was salad. Wine kept appearing in my glass faster than I drank it. The room warmed into something easy. Tasha told Mom about the time I accidentally joined a video meeting with a dryer sheet stuck to my sweater. Dr. Patel described the first paper I submitted after returning to school. It had 6 pages of notes for a 4-page assignment, she said. "I wanted to show my work. You wanted to prevent me from finding anything wrong. Did it work?" "No." Everyone laughed, including me. Dad leaned back with one arm over his chair and watched the stories circulate. When people praised me, he nodded with proprietary satisfaction. I had seen him do the same thing at Owen's grand opening, accepting compliments about the venue as if he had personally exposed the brick. Mom touched my wrist beneath the table. "You happy?" she asked. I looked at the flowers, my friends, and the graduation cap now perched crookedly on top of the cake. Yes. Her relief was so obvious that my happiness snagged on it. The main course arrived. Chicken piccata for most of the table, salmon for Dr. Patel, eggplant parmesan for Aaron, who had forgotten what she ordered and tried to trade with Luis. Owen barely ate. Every few minutes he looked at his phone under the table. Dad noticed once and gave him a small shake of the head. Owen put it away. "What's going on?" I asked Mom. "With what?" "Owen." She dabbed the corner of her mouth. "Business is stressful. Is something wrong at the venue?" Nothing new. That was not the same as nothing. I looked down the table. Owen caught me watching and lifted his wine glass in a toast. His smile appeared on time, but it did not reach his eyes. After the plates were cleared, Aunt Celia stood and gave an unplanned speech about how I used to read cereal boxes at breakfast. She read everything, Celia said. Instructions, shampoo bottles, the little paper that comes inside aspirin. I was 6, I said. You corrected my grammar on a birthday card. You wrote your when you meant your. See? More laughter. Tasha spoke next. Then Dr. Patel. Erin kept hers short. Mara once drove across town at midnight because I said I had locked myself out, she said. When she got there, she discovered I had been trying the wrong apartment. She did not murder me. That is the kind of discipline it takes to earn a degree while knowing me. You were drunk, I said. I was navigating creatively. When Erin sat, Dad stood. The room quieted immediately. Dad had that effect. He could make silence feel like people were giving it to him. He held his wine glass by the stem. When Mara was little, he began. She never wanted help tying her shoes. Here we go, I murmured. Mom squeezed my wrist again. She would struggle with those laces until her fingers turned red. If Diane or I reached down, she'd say, I can do it. And she could. That's our Mara. His voice thickened on my name. I felt my guard loosen despite myself. She has always been determined, loyal. The person this family can count on when the road gets hard. Tonight, we celebrate what she has accomplished. But I think the best way to honor Mara is not only to look backward, it's to look at what comes next. Erin stopped smiling. Dad set down his wine glass. Russell, Mom said quietly. He glanced at her. Whatever he saw in her face did not stop him. This family has had a remarkable year, he continued. Mara has completed her degree, and Owen is entering an important new phase with the Foundry Room. Owen pushed back his chair. I looked from him to Dad. No. It came out softly. Only Mom and Dr. Patel seemed to hear. Dad smiled at the table. Many of you know what Owen has built on the South Side. The Foundry Room isn't just a business. It's a gathering place. It employs local people. It gives families somewhere to mark the moments that matter. Behind him, the second door opened. A Bellini's employee rolled in an easel draped in navy fabric. A line of white chalk dust marked the easel's wooden edge. Owen stood beside it. He did not look at me while he removed the cloth. The board underneath showed a polished rendering of the Foundry Room with a redesigned bar, new lighting, and an outdoor patio. I had told Owen 6 months earlier he could not afford. Across the top, in gold letters matching my graduation banner, were the words, "Keep the Foundry Burning." For one absurd moment, all I could think was that foundries did not burn. Furnaces did. Whoever had named the campaign had paid for graphic design without consulting a dictionary. Dad stepped toward the sideboard and picked up the stack of cream-colored cards. I know nobody came tonight expecting to be asked for anything, he said, which was a remarkable sentence to say while asking people for something. But sometimes an unexpected need gives us an unexpected opportunity. He handed the first card to Aunt Celia. She accepted it automatically. Dad. My voice was louder now. He kept moving. Contributions can be financial, professional, or simply a gift of time. There is no amount too small and no pressure whatsoever. Cards traveled around the table. Some people unfolded them. Others looked at me first. Owen began talking about rising costs, delayed bookings, and preserving jobs. His voice was rough at the beginning, but it steadied as he went. He thanked Dad. He thanked Mom. Then he thanked me for understanding that a family celebration could become something bigger. Tasha's card remained untouched beside her plate. Dr. Patel leaned closer. Did you approve this? Before I could answer, Dad reached me. He placed one card directly in front of my dessert fork and rested his hand on my shoulder. And of course, he said, none of this would be possible without our graduate. My name was already printed across the top. The check beside $10,000 was dark and confident. Beneath it, the words Campaign Financial Coordinator were written in my father's slanted handwriting. I looked at Mom. She stared at the butter dish. You knew, I said. Her lips barely moved. I thought he was going to ask. That's what you thought? Mara, not here. Dad's fingers tightened on my shoulder. He turned toward Dr. Patel and smiled. Mara's degree is really going to help us put the whole campaign on solid footing. Dr. Patel's husband was already reaching for his checkbook. Louise picked up a pen. Aunt Celia asked Owen whether pledges were due immediately. The room had begun moving around me, everyone stepping into a decision I had never made because my silence looked so much like consent. I slid my chair back. The legs scraped hard against the floor. Dad's hand fell away. I stood. For a second, nobody spoke. I picked up the card and held it where Dad could see it. I did not fill this out. His smile did not move, but something behind it hardened. It's symbolic. $10,000 is a very specific symbol. Aunt Celia set down her pen. Dad gave a small chuckle for the room. Obviously, Mara and I will work out the details privately. No, we won't. Mara. I never agreed to donate money. I never agreed to coordinate a campaign. I didn't even know there was a campaign until 5 minutes ago. Across from me, Erin folded her arms. Dad looked down the table as if someone there might explain why his dependable daughter had malfunctioned. Nobody is forcing you to do anything. You wrote my name on a pledge card. It's an example. Then why is everybody else holding one? Dr. Patel placed hers on the table. Her husband closed his checkbook. Owen stepped away from the campaign board. Maybe we should take a break. No, Dad said. It was not loud. Dad rarely got loud when he was losing control. His voice became lower, calmer, and more reasonable, forcing everybody else to sound emotional by comparison. He turned back to the guests. I'm sorry. There seems to have been a misunderstanding about how we would present this. There was no misunderstanding, I said. You didn't tell me. Mom's fingers worried the edge of her napkin. Mara, could we please discuss this in the hall? What did you know? Her eyes lifted to mine, then shifted toward Dad. That answered enough. I knew your father wanted to mention Owen's situation, she said. I did not know he would put a dollar amount on anything. You knew this was becoming a fundraiser. I knew he wanted to give people an opportunity to help. At my graduation dinner, it was the only time everyone would already be together. There it was. The family logic, clean and simple. My celebration was not an occasion. It was available infrastructure. Owen rubbed his palm over his jaw. Mar, I should have called you. Yes. Dad said he was going to talk to you. Dad looked at him. Do not put this on me. You told me you'd handle it. I did handle it. You forged her pledge. I did not forge anything. A pledge card is not a contract. The word contract changed the air. People who had been politely studying their plates now looked directly at him. Dad heard it too. Oh, come on, he said. This is a family trying to support one another. We are not in court. No, I said. We're at my graduation dinner. Erin slid her card toward the center of the table. For what it's worth, I came to support Mara. Dad's expression tightened. I don't believe anyone suggested otherwise. You suggested giving her graduation gifts to Owen. In lieu of gifts, Owen said, then immediately looked like he wished he could pull the words back into his mouth. I turned to him. So you knew that part too. He exhaled through his nose. I knew Dad was going to suggest it. And you were fine with that. I thought, that I would be fine with it? I thought you'd understand how bad things are. You could have told me how bad things are. I tried. When? The phone call. The phone call where you said you were proud of me. I was proud of you, and that was you asking for money? No. Jesus, Mara, not everything is that calculated. He sounded genuinely wounded. That hurt more than if he had sounded guilty. In his mind, both things could be true. He could love me, be proud of me, and stand beside a board asking my friends to save his business without noticing the distance between those actions. Aunt Celia cleared her throat. Maybe we should let the family talk. Dad seized on it. Exactly. Everyone, please continue with dessert. We'll take 5 minutes. No. I looked around the table. Nobody needs to wait for us to decide what already happened. Mara, sit down. It was the tone he had used when I was 17 and embarrassed him by disagreeing in front of company. I stayed standing. If you filled out a card because you believed I endorsed this campaign, please take it back. I didn't authorize it. I am not involved with the Foundry Room, and I'm not asking anyone here to give Owen money. Owen flinched at the word money. Luis slowly capped his pen. Dad's face darkened. You have made your point. I'm making sure everyone understands it. We understand, Tasha said. She picked up her blank pledge card, tore it in half, and placed both pieces beside her wine glass with the precision of someone completing a workplace safety demonstration. Luis slid his card toward Dad. Dr. Patel did the same. Her husband tucked his checkbook back inside his jacket. Aunt Celia hesitated. I was going to help Owen anyway. You can, I said, if you want to. Just not because you think I asked you. Owen stared at the floor. The Bellini's employee who had rolled in the campaign board appeared in the doorway carrying coffee service. He stopped when he saw the room. Dad pointed at the board. Take that out. The employee looked at Owen. You heard him, Owen said. The board rolled away beneath the gold graduation banner. One of its wheels squeaked every few feet, an almost comic little protest that went on much longer than anyone wanted. Mom stood. Please, let's all sit down and have cake. I looked at her. What? She asked. You still think this can become cake? Her mouth trembled. I think there are people here who care about you and don't deserve to have the whole evening ruined. I ruined it. I didn't say you did. You looked directly at me when you said it. Dad threw his napkin onto the table. Enough. Nobody moved. He turned to me. Your brother is trying to keep people employed. He swallowed his pride and asked for help. I'm sorry the timing isn't what you would have chosen, but sometimes there are things more important than getting applause for a degree. The sentence landed so neatly that I wondered how long it had been waiting inside him. Mom whispered his name. Owen looked up. Dad, stop. But Dad had already crossed the line, and like most people who do that in public, he decided the only way out was to keep walking. We spent the whole day celebrating you. We sat in that arena for 4 hours. We took the pictures. We bought the flowers. This is one small portion of one evening. I paid for this evening. That is not the point. It's exactly the point. I asked for one dinner. You used my guest list to find donors, and then you volunteered my money and my time so everybody else would follow. I was showing confidence in the campaign, with my name, because people trust you. There was the answer. Not because I had agreed, not because he believed I wanted to help. My name was valuable precisely because I had spent years doing what I said I would do. You borrowed my credibility, I said. Dad rolled his eyes. Listen to yourself. I am, for once. I picked up my purse. Mom came around her chair. Don't leave. I'm leaving. At least cut the cake. The request was so painfully Mom that I almost laughed. No. Mara, everyone came for you, and I'm grateful. I'm also not going to sit here while Dad explains why Owen's emergency matters more than me again. Owen's face tightened. I never said that. You didn't have to. I looked around the table. Every person seemed to be making a heroic effort not to be the first to stand. I'm sorry, I told them. I wanted to have dinner with you. I didn't know this was happening. You have nothing to apologize for, Dr. Patel said. Dad made a sharp sound under his breath. Erin stood and picked up her purse. I'm going with you. You don't have to. I brought emergency bourbon. This qualifies. Tasha rose too, followed by Luis. I told them to stay if they wanted dessert, which somehow made things worse. Chairs began shifting. People reached for coats. Conversations formed in low, embarrassed murmurs. My graduation dinner ended the way office holiday parties end after someone gets fired. At the front desk, I asked for the manager. Dad followed me into the hall. What are you doing? Paying the bill. I told you I would cover the wine. I don't want anything from you. That's childish. No, childish was hiding pledge cards at my dinner. I did not hide them. You literally kept me outside while they were carried in. That was the restaurant's timing. The manager approached with the strained expression of a man who had heard enough through a closed door to know there would be no good table to visit. I gave him my card. Dad reached for his wallet. Put the wine on mine. No, Mara. All of it on mine, please. The manager looked between us. My reservation, I said. My card. Dad's jaw flexed. Fine, if making a production out of paying helps. Erin appeared with my paper bag, her bourbon, and the entire graduation cake balanced against her chest. Mom hurried behind her. You can't take that. People haven't had dessert. Erin looked down at the cake. It has Mara's name on it. I ordered it, and she graduated. That is not how cake works. It is tonight. I nearly laughed. The sound came out closer to a cough. Owen stayed in the doorway of the private room. His tie was loose now. Behind him, Aunt Celia had cornered Louise, who looked willing to confess to anything if she would let him leave. Mar, Owen said. I waited. He glanced at Dad, then Mom, then the cream-colored card still in my hand. I'm sorry you found out this way. Erin closed her eyes. I looked at my brother. That is not an apology for doing it. He pressed his lips together. Dad stepped between us. You don't get to stand here demanding perfect language after what you just did to him. What I did to him? You destroyed the campaign before it started. No, I removed my name. Same difference tonight. The manager returned with my receipt. I signed it without looking at the total. Dad lowered his voice. Call your guests tomorrow. Tell them emotions ran high and you support the family. I don't. You don't mean that. I support Owen as my brother. I do not support this. You have no idea what you've set in motion. I folded my copy of the receipt and put it in my purse. For the first time, I said, neither do you. Erin carried the cake. I carried the bourbon. We walked out together while Mom called my name once, softly enough that I could pretend I had not heard her. My phone started vibrating before we reached the parking lot. I turned it off. Erin held out her hand. Keys. I can drive. You had wine. I had one glass with salad because I saw your father whispering to a waiter and decided somebody needed to remain operational. I gave her my keys. We got the cake into the back seat after an argument with the cardboard lid. The gold congratulations had survived, but a blue frosting flower stuck to the top and stretched into a sugary stalactite when Erin lifted it. Still more dignified than the dinner, she said. She drove slowly, taking every turn like we had a transplant organ behind us. I sat with the bourbon in my lap and watched Columbus pass in blurred storefronts and red lights. Do you want me to talk? She asked. No. Do you want me to insult your father? Not yet. I have material prepared. I know. Your brother's campaign slogan alone, Erin. She stopped. 3 blocks later, I said, Foundries do not burn. Thank you. The whole point is that they contain a furnace. I didn't want to bring it up during your trauma. It was bothering me. It should. They paid someone for that. I laughed once, then covered my face with both hands. Erin let me stay that way until we reached my apartment. We carried the cake upstairs together. The box barely fit through my refrigerator door, so we removed one shelf, relocated a jar of pickles, and balanced the cake over 2 containers of takeout noodles. It was the kind of practical problem I could solve. I wanted 10 more of them. Erin put the bourbon on the counter. Glasses? Cabinet left of the sink. You have 6 identical water glasses. I like consistency. You live like an Airbnb run by a stern widow. She poured an inch into 2 glasses and handed me one. I took a sip. That's horrible. It cost $80. Then it's expensive and horrible. That bottle has excellent reviews from men who own leather aprons. She leaned against the counter. Do you want to turn your phone on? No. Good. I have to eventually. Eventually is a huge country. I drank again. It did not improve. The silence between us settled without becoming awkward. Erin had always been good at that. She could sit beside somebody's pain without poking it to prove she was helping. I opened my purse for the receipt and found the pledge card. The cream paper was thick, lightly textured, expensive enough to suggest the campaign had money for printing, if not electricity. My name sat above the $10,000 check mark. Dad's handwriting slanted forward as if even his letters were applying pressure. Erin read over my shoulder. "Campaign Financial Coordinator," she said. "Did they also put you down as organ donor?" It was symbolic. Sure. 10,000 symbolic dollars. I laid the card on the counter. "Why 10?" she asked. "I don't know. That wasn't random. Dad thinks round numbers are trustworthy." Mara. I don't know. But I had a guess. 2 months earlier, Mom had asked what I planned to do after graduation. I told her I wanted to replace my car before winter and keep the rest of my savings intact in case my new position required travel. She had asked how much I had saved. I did not give her an exact figure, but I said enough to breathe for the first time in a while. Enough to breathe had apparently sounded like available funds. I should have known when he asked for the spreadsheet, I said. "No." He wanted phone numbers. "You asked him why. I still sent it. Because he's your father and he said he wanted to do something nice for you. He has never made place cards in his life. That is weak evidence for an ambush." I traced the edge of the card with my thumb. Mom knew. Yes. She stood in my bedroom and promised me. Yes. She picked the dress. Also, yes. I don't understand how she did both. Erin looked into her glass. "I think your mother has spent 40 years turning contradiction into a household management system. That sounds like marketing. I am in marketing." I smiled, but my throat hurt. "She probably believed Dad would tell you," Erin said. "Then she probably believed you'd say yes. Then when he didn't tell you, she believed it would be cruel to spoil the dinner. At every step, there was a reason to do nothing. You make her sound terrible. I make her sound scared. Of Dad, of the family not working." I looked at her. Erin shrugged. "You're the piece that keeps it working. Owen falls apart. Your dad charges in. Your mom smooths everything over, and you make sure nobody loses a deposit. That is aggressively simplified." Of course it is. I only had chicken piccata and half a speech to work with. I walked into the living room and sat on the couch. Erin followed, but took the armchair, leaving space around me. "The foundry really might close," I said. "Okay, he has 6 full-time employees. More on events. Okay, if it closes, it's not just Owen. That still doesn't make your graduation dinner a donor list." "I know." "Do you?" I glared at her. She held up both hands. "I'm asking because you are already building the argument they're going to use against you. They don't have to build it. It's true. 2 things can be true. His business can be in trouble, and what they did can still be grotesque. Grotesque is dramatic. Your father passed pledge cards between the tiramisu and cake. We never got tiramisu. Then it's worse." My phone sat dark on the coffee table. At 11:30, I turned it on. It shuddered in my hand as messages arrived. 9 missed calls from Mom, 4 from Dad, 3 from Owen. A string of texts loaded beneath them. "Mom, please call me." "Mom, I'm so sorry the evening ended badly." "Mom, your father is very upset." "Mom, I know you are hurt, but please don't make any decisions tonight." "Dad, we need to speak before you contact anyone." "Dad, do not send messages while you're angry." "Dad, call me." Owen's first message said, "I'm sorry." The second said, "I really did mean what I said on the phone." The third arrived 20 minutes later. "I wish you had talked to me instead of blowing everything up in front of people." I handed the phone to Erin. She read, returned it, and reached for the bourbon. "That progression took him 38 minutes, she said. Took Dad 6. There were messages from guests, too. Tasha asked if I was home safe. Louise apologized for picking up the pen. Dr. Patel said the evening had not changed how proud she was of me. Aunt Celia wrote, "Your father's methods were wrong, but Owen's situation is serious. Please remember that when you decide what to do next." "What am I deciding?" I asked. "Whether to resume your assigned position. I never had a position." Erin pointed at the card. I set the phone down. I should tell everyone to ignore the pledges. You should. If they want to donate, that's their business. Correct. I'm not telling them not to. You are arguing with a person who agrees with you. I'm practicing. I opened my laptop. The spreadsheet was still in my sent folder. 23 names, email addresses, and phone numbers. Some were relatives who already knew Owen. Others had met him for the first time while he stood beside the campaign board. I started typing. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm sorry the evening became uncomfortable. Aaron leaned over the back of the couch. Delete sorry. It was my dinner. You didn't replace dessert with venture capital. I deleted it. Thank you for coming tonight. I want to clarify that I did not know about or authorize the fundraiser for the Foundry Room. I am not making the pledge presented in my name, and I have not agreed to coordinate the campaign. If you completed a card because you believed I was involved, my finger stopped above the keyboard. What? Aaron asked. This sounds hostile. It sounds like English. It sounds like I think Dad was trying to deceive them. Was he? He thought I'd agree. That's not an answer. I closed the laptop without sending it. Aaron studied me, then nodded once. Tomorrow. She stayed on my couch. I slept badly, waking every hour with a different sentence from the dinner lodged in my mind. At 8:15, someone knocked. Erin appeared from beneath the throw blanket with her hair standing straight up on one side. If that's your father, I'm calling the Vatican. Why? I don't know. It feels above my pay grade. I looked through the peephole. Mom stood in the hall holding a foil-covered casserole dish and the blue dress on a hanger. I opened the door but did not move aside. I brought your things, she said. I wore the dress home. This is the garment bag. She held up the empty plastic bag as if that explained the visit. And breakfast, she added. What is it? Breakfast casserole. That dish is too small. It's half. Where's the other half? Your father. Of course. Aaron appeared behind me. Good morning, Mrs. Ellis. Mom's eyes flicked to her. You stayed. Emergency bourbon. I see. I let Mom in. She placed the casserole in my refrigerator and frowned at the missing shelf. Where is everything? The cake took over. Mom stared at the box. You took the whole thing. My name was on it. So was my credit card receipt. You can have half. I don't want cake. That was a lie. Mom always wanted cake. She just needed to be angry more. Erin took her purse and kissed my cheek. Call me if breakfast becomes a fundraiser. Mom waited until the door closed. Your father didn't sleep, she said. I slept great, thanks. Mara. You came to tell me how Dad slept? I came to apologize. I waited. She sat on the edge of the armchair, still wearing the beige slacks and soft green blouse she wore to church. I knew he wanted to introduce the campaign. He told me it would be a few words and that he was going to ask you before dinner. When? He didn't say. And when I arrived, and he still hadn't asked me, I assumed he had spoken to you privately. I asked you if anything with Owen was happening. I know, you promised. I was trying to protect the evening from the truth. From a fight. Those became the same thing. Mom looked toward the kitchen. The 10,000 was wrong. The rest was fine? No. That's not what I said. What did you think I was going to contribute? She rubbed her palms together. Your father thought if people saw the family making a strong commitment, they would feel confident. He could have used his own name. You know he has already put money into the business. I know he says that whenever I ask how much, it's significant. Then he could put significant on his symbolic card. Her mouth tightened. I opened my laptop again. Mom watched me. What are you doing? Clarifying things with my guests. Your father asked you not to contact anyone. He doesn't get to use my guest list and then control what I say to them. If you send something now, people will withdraw. If they only pledged because they thought I supported it, they should. Mara, please. Give everyone a day. So Dad can call them first? Her silence answered. I opened the draft. Mom moved to the couch beside me. What if you made a smaller pledge? I turned my head. Not 10,000, she said quickly. something manageable, even 2. You could say there was confusion about the amount, but that you support Owen. It would calm everything down. You came here to apologize. I am apologizing. With an invoice. I am trying to find a way forward. For whom? For all of us. No. For Dad, because he's embarrassed. For Owen, because his campaign went badly. For you, because everybody is fighting. And for you, she insisted. What part of that is for me? Mom looked at the graduation cake crowding my refrigerator, the empty garment bag, the pledge card on my counter. You won't want to lose your family over one terrible night, she said. I turned back to the laptop. It wasn't one night, I said. Then I pressed send. The first reply arrived before Mom understood what I had done. Dr. Patel wrote, "Thank you for clarifying. No contribution was submitted from us. Please take care of yourself today." Tasha responded with 3 words. "Good. Now eat." Mom watched the notifications appear at the top of my screen. "You sent it to Celia? She was at the dinner. She's family. She got a pledge card. She already knows what happened. Then the email won't surprise her." Mom stood. "You didn't have to do this with me sitting here. You came without calling. I came because I thought we could fix it. You came because Dad sent you. He did not send me. Did he know you were coming? That isn't the same thing." Her phone rang. Dad's name filled the screen. Mom rejected the call so quickly she almost dropped the phone. I looked at her. "He knew I was coming," she said. "Right. That doesn't mean he sent me, it just means he was waiting for your report. You have an answer for everything today. I graduated." Normally, that would have made her smile. Her lips moved, but the joke did not get through. Another reply arrived, this one from Luis. He said he had left his unsigned card on the table and appreciated the clarification. A woman from my evening program wrote that she had taken hers home out of confusion and would throw it away. Mom's phone rang again. "Answer it," I said. "I am talking to you. He'll keep calling. Then let him." It rang a 3rd time. Mom answered. "Russell, I'm with Mara." Dad's voice was loud enough that I heard him without the speaker. "Did she send something?" Mom closed her eyes. "Yes." "For God's sake, Diane." I told her to wait. "Give me the phone." Mom held it out. I did not take it. "You can tell him I'm right here." "She can hear you," Mom said. There was a pause. Dad lowered his voice. "Mara, you need to send a follow-up. No. You have now told people I acted without your knowledge." "You did." "That message makes it sound malicious. It doesn't use the word malicious. Don't play games. I stated exactly what happened. You stated your version. Which part is inaccurate?" He breathed into the phone. Mom watched me as though she wanted to intervene, but could not decide which person required management first. Dad said several people had already made verbal commitments. To whom? That's irrelevant. To Owen? To you? They expressed interest in helping. Now you've given them an excuse to back away. If my involvement didn't matter, my email won't change their minds. That is deliberately obtuse. No, deliberately obtuse was pretending a $10,000 pledge in my name was an example. You were not expected to write a check today. I wasn't expected to write one ever. Mom sat down again and pressed 2 fingers between her eyebrows. Dad continued. The amount was meant to demonstrate confidence. Donors look for leadership commitments. Then put your name beside it. I have contributed more than that over the last 3 years. Great. Use your actual contribution. This isn't a competition. It wasn't my fundraiser. His voice sharpened. You are enjoying this. The accusation was so unexpected that I went quiet. Dad took my silence as confirmation. You've always resented what we've done for Owen. Last night gave you a room full of people and an opportunity to punish him. I invited those people to celebrate me. Yes, and they did. For hours. Mom whispered, Russell. No, Diane, she wants honesty. Let's have honesty. Owen is facing a genuine crisis, and Mara cares more about the shape of one evening than what happens to her brother's employees. I care that all 3 of you lied to me. I did not lie, Mom said automatically. Dad talked over her. Nobody lied. We misjudged how you would react. The sentence left nowhere useful to go. I walked to the front door and opened it. Mom stared at me. You're asking me to leave? I'm not doing this through your phone. Her face changed. For 1 second, she looked less like my mother than a woman who had shown up with breakfast and failed at something she thought she knew how to do. She ended the call. You don't have to take it out on me, she said. I'm not. Opening the door is fairly clear. I sent the email. You asked me not to. Dad called to make me undo it. There's nothing else to discuss right now. She picked up the garment bag. At the refrigerator, she stopped. You said I could have half the cake. Despite everything, I got a knife. We divided it down the center of my name. Mom left with congratulations, Mar. I kept the final A and most of the blue flowers. By Monday morning, my half was in the office break room. Tasha found me cutting it into pieces with a plastic knife. You ate the word congratulations? She asked. I didn't want to seem boastful. She took a corner slice. How bad was yesterday? Mom brought casserole. Tasha nodded gravely. Escalation. She asked me to pledge $2,000. Was that before or after the apology? During. She leaned against the counter and ate frosting with a plastic fork. At 44, Tasha had silver beginning at both temples and the absolute confidence of a woman who had once returned a car because the cup holder was annoying. Your father called me, she said. My knife stopped. When? Yesterday afternoon. How did he get your number? She gave me a look. The spreadsheet. What did he say? He apologized for the discomfort and explained that the campaign was legitimate despite your emotional reaction. I set down the knife. He said that? He used the words, heightened emotions. Same outfit, different shoes. Did he ask you for money? He said the opportunity remained open. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing for a man who owns his own phone. I stared at the cake. Did you tell him no? I told him I don't invest in businesses through relatives of coworkers. That's very specific. I wanted him to know I have a policy. You just invented that policy. Every policy starts somewhere. I laughed, then pressed the heels of my hands against my eyes. Tasha lowered her voice. He may call the others. He probably already has. Then they can answer for themselves. Your job was to clarify your part. You did. My actual job filled the rest of Monday with enough problems to keep me from checking my phone every 3 minutes. A shipment of sterilization units had gone to Dayton instead of Dublin. 2 sales representatives had promised the same demonstration equipment to different clinics. By 5, I had rerouted 1 delivery, rented a replacement machine, and prevented Luis from sending an email that began, "Peer my last 3 unanswered messages." Competence felt different when nobody called it love. Owen texted as I was leaving. We need to talk in person. Foundry, please. I sat in my car reading it while the dashboard clock changed from 5:19 to 5:20. Tuesday nights had belonged to the Foundry room for most of the last 2 years. I went after work, ate whatever catering sample Owen had left in the refrigerator, and spent a few hours fixing schedules, reconciling invoices, or explaining why a signed estimate should not be revised because he had a feeling about premium linens. He had never formally asked me to make Tuesday a standing arrangement. I had never formally agreed. It had simply become true. At 6:07, I pulled into the Foundry's gravel lot. The building looked beautiful in the evening. Warm bulbs glowed behind tall factory windows. A mural covered the side wall, all rust red and deep blue, with the name worked into painted gears. Owen had a gift for atmosphere. Even empty, the place suggested something memorable was about to happen. Inside, a catering crew was setting up a tasting. Renee, Owen's venue manager, carried a tray of glass votives toward the main room. "Congratulations," she called when she saw me. "Thank you. Heard the dinner got exciting." Of course she had. "Who told you?" She tilted her head toward the office. Owen sat behind his desk with his tie gone and his sleeves rolled up. The Keep the Foundry burning board leaned against the wall behind him, turned backward. My Tuesday coffee mug stood beside his computer. He got up when I entered. Thanks for coming." I almost didn't. I know. There were 2 chairs across from his desk. One had a stack of vendor binders on it. I moved them to the floor. Owen watched me do it. "You always do that." "Do what?" "Fix the chair instead of asking me to. You knew I was coming. I forgot the binders were there. That's sort of the point." He sat again. "Dad chose the 10,000. I assumed. I didn't know he wrote financial coordinator. But you knew I was being presented as part of the campaign. I thought he had talked to you. He told you he would." "Yes." "And when did you realize he hadn't?" Owen looked toward the open office door. "When you walked in," he said. "You could have stopped it." "In front of everybody? That's what you expected me to do?" "No, I expected you to pull Dad aside." "And then what? Tell him the amount was too high. Tell him you needed time. The amount was not the problem. I know that now." "You knew it Saturday." He pushed back in his chair. "Do you want me to apologize, or do you want to keep me in the part where I haven't apologized yet? I want you to understand what you're apologizing for. I'm sorry Dad hijacked your dinner. I waited. I'm sorry I let him." "Why did you?" He looked down at his hands. "Because we need the money." The answer was ugly, but at least it was honest. "How bad?" I asked. "Bad enough." "That isn't a number. I'm not asking you for a number. You asked my academic advisor. I didn't invite her." "No, I did." He leaned back. "We had 3 summer cancellations. The air conditioning repair wiped out the reserve. Bookings are down, and Dad thought we could raise enough to bridge to the holiday season." "Enough for what? Existing costs or the patio?" "The patio would bring in more business. You put expansion plans on a rescue board. People donate toward growth, not survival. They don't donate to private event spaces at all, Owen. They invest, lend, or give you money because they know you. Fine. Whatever word makes you comfortable. Words matter when you're passing out cards." He looked away. Renee appeared in the doorway. "Sorry," Jamal called. His mother's procedure got moved to Thursday, so he can't bartend the Harrison retirement. Owen rubbed his forehead. "Okay. Call Wes. Wes is in Cincinnati. What about Nina? She quit in March." He looked at me. The reflex rose before he spoke. I could bartend. I knew the setup, the packages, the closing checklist. Thursday was open on my calendar. Owen saw the answer forming. Relief touched his face. Then I let the silence remain. "Mara," he said. "No, I haven't asked yet. You were going to. It's one night. It is always one night." Renee shifted in the doorway. "I can call the agency." "Call the agency," I said. Owen's eyes flashed. "I run the business." Renee looked at him. He exhaled. "Call them." She left. "You didn't have to do that in front of her," he said. "Do what? Decline a job I don't have? You've helped before. I'm not helping at the foundry anymore." His face went still. I reached past his computer and picked up my Tuesday mug. Owen stared at it in my hand. "You're serious?" "Yes." "So that's the punishment?" "No. It's the part that should have been true all along." Owen stared at me as if I had switched languages in the middle of the conversation. "You've been helping here since we opened." "I know. You made the first vendor spreadsheet." "I know. You negotiated the linen contract after you signed 2 different companies for the same dates. You know every part of this place. That doesn't make it my responsibility." He stood and began moving around the office. Owen was a pacing arguer. Dad planted himself and made you come to him. Owen filled the room until there was nowhere to look that did not contain his frustration. "So what happens now?" he asked. "You just walk away?" "I stop working for free." Working for free. Wow. "What would you call it? Helping your brother every Tuesday, weekends, emergency calls, covering events? I've helped you." "When?" His face changed. I regretted the question immediately, not because it was unfair, but because it was too broad. People should not have to produce a receipt for every decent thing they have ever done under the pressure of an argument. Owen folded his arms. "I helped you move into your apartment. Dad hired the movers. I assembled your bed. You lost 3 screws. The bed is still standing. Okay. You assembled my bed. I came to your presentations. 1. I brought you dinner during finals. Twice. I called you every week when you went back to school. That was true. During my first semester, when I was terrified that every person in the room could tell I had been away from school for 14 years, Owen called on Wednesday nights. He never asked for anything during those calls. Sometimes he stayed on the phone while I drove home and complained about his customers until I stopped thinking about how old I felt. You did, I said. And when you thought about quitting statistics, who told you not to? You, because I believe in you. I'm not some stranger who's been exploiting you for free office supplies. I didn't say you were a stranger. You're acting like nothing between us counts unless it's on payroll. No. I'm saying love cannot keep meaning I do whatever you need. He looked at the mug in my hand. Mara's Tuesday Fuel was printed across it in Owen's handwriting. He had ordered it after I spent 6 hours fixing a booking calendar that kept placing cocktail receptions in the supply closet. I never made you come here, he said. No. You just kept having emergencies until coming here felt easier than not coming. That is a cruel way to describe the last 3 years. It's an accurate way to describe parts of them. Right, because you're the accurate one. His voice had gone flat. I knew what he meant. In our family, accuracy was not neutral. It was one of the weapons I was allowed to have because Owen had charm and Dad had certainty and Mom had hurt feelings. I remembered dates, amounts, promises, and exact wording. They called it keeping score whenever the score made them uncomfortable. Owen sat on the corner of his desk. Renee thinks you're coming on officially. What? Not full time. That is not what I asked. I told her you might take over some financial systems after graduation. Why would you tell her that? Because Dad said you wanted to use your degree. My degree is not in rescuing your event space. It's business administration. It's operations management, and I already have a job. I know what your degree is. Apparently not. He pushed away from the desk. I wasn't promising her anything. You were promising her me. I said might. Did you ask me? I was going to. When? After you gave me the campaign login? There is no campaign login. Thank God. One thing you didn't create in my name. He flinched. The office went quiet except for the low roll of a cart on the concrete floor outside. I put the mug on top of the vendor binders and opened the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet. My gray cardigan was folded inside. Under it were a phone charger, a pair of flats, antacids, and a small sewing kit Mom gave me after Owen once asked whether I could repair a torn table runner 10 minutes before a wedding reception. He watched me gather everything. You really came prepared to leave, he said. I didn't know I had this much stuff here. That's worse. I tucked the cardigan over my arm. There are things only you know, he said. Vendor contacts, payment schedules, how Renee's bonus is calculated. I'll write a handoff. A handoff? Yes. Send me a list of specific questions. I'll answer them once. You sound like a consultant. A consultant would send an invoice. He laughed without humor. There she is. Who? The person who has secretly hated every favor she ever did. I stopped. I didn't hate them, I said. That's why I kept doing them. Then don't rewrite it now. I'm not. I loved helping you. I loved this place when it opened. I still love parts of it. I just didn't understand that every time I saved you, I was agreeing to the next time. Owen looked past me toward the main room. Renee and 2 catering workers were arranging wine glasses beneath the Edison bulbs. The space glowed around them, beautiful and precarious. What am I supposed to do? He asked. It was the first thing he had said that did not sound like an accusation. Run your business. I am running it. Then run the parts that aren't fun. His mouth tightened again. And if it closes? The old answer rose instantly. It won't. I won't let it. I had said versions of that after bad months, broken equipment, and double bookings. I had meant them. Owen had believed me. I hope it doesn't, I said. That's all? That's what a sister can say. He turned away. I carried my things out of the office. Renee was taping a printed floor plan to the bar. "Heading out?" she asked. "Yeah." She glanced at the cardigan, mug, and shoes in my arms. "Are you still helping with the Harrison event? I wasn't scheduled for it. Owen said you usually jump in if we're short." "Not anymore." Her eyebrows lifted, but she nodded. "Okay." I reached the front door before Owen called after me. "Mara." I turned. He stood in the office doorway. "I was proud of you," he said. I believed him. "I know," I said, and left anyway. The handoff list arrived at 12:18 that night. It had 37 questions. I read the first 12, stopped, and replied. "Choose the 10 you cannot answer with the files already in the office." Owen did not respond until morning. Fine. At 9, the family group text came alive. "Mom, can someone remind me what time my orthopedic appointment is Thursday?" Dad, 2:30. Mom, I thought 2. Dad, the calendar says 2:30. Mom, whose calendar? Dad, mine. Mom, then I have no idea. Usually I would open the healthcare portal, find the appointment, and send a screenshot. Mom knew how to use the portal. Dad knew how to call the office. They both preferred that I handle it because I did it quickly. I put my phone face down. 10 minutes later, Dad tagged me by name. Dad, Mara, please confirm the time and plan to pick up your mother at 1:45. There was no greeting. No acknowledgement that we had not spoken since Sunday. Just a task arriving at my door in the close of normal family life. I typed, "I'm working Thursday. You'll need to take her." The typing bubbles appeared immediately. Dad, I have campaign meetings. Me, reschedule them. Dad, this appointment has been on your calendar for months. It had. I had entered it while sitting in the orthopedic clinic with Mom after her previous follow-up. At the time, taking an afternoon off had seemed easier than asking Dad why he could rearrange his week for Owen's leaking roof but not for his wife's hip. Mom, I can change the appointment. That was her move. If Mara would not help and Russell was too busy, Diane would become the inconvenience. Me, don't change it. Dad can take you or you can use the car service through your insurance. I showed you how. Dad, unbelievable. I waited for the guilt to become unbearable. It did not. It was bad, but bearable turned out to be a much lower standard than I had imagined. At lunch, my manager, Sandra, asked me to step into her office. She closed the door and gestured toward the chair across from her desk. "We finally got approval for the regional operations lead position," she said. I straightened. "Okay, I want you in it." The promotion had been discussed for months in the careful, non-committal language companies use when they want you doing a larger job before they approve a larger salary. I had trained staff in 3 branches, rebuilt the delivery escalation process, and spent a full weekend in Cincinnati after a warehouse transition went wrong. Still, hearing the offer made my first thought strangely blank. Sandra slid a printed summary across the desk. The salary was more than I expected. The travel requirement was less. "We'd need you in Cincinnati twice a month at first," she said. "Occasionally, Cleveland. I know you've had family obligations, so take a few days." Family obligations, I pictured Mom's appointment, Owen's Thursday event, Dad's campaign meetings, and my Tuesday mug sitting on top of a stack of vendor binders. "How soon do you need an answer?" "Friday." I read the salary again. 4 years earlier, I had declined a smaller advancement because it conflicted with Mom's physical therapy schedule. She had cried when she found out, then told me I should not have done it, as if that returned the choice to me. Sandra mistook my silence for hesitation. "There's flexibility. We can talk through concerns." "I don't have concerns." "You don't?" "I have habits." She smiled slightly. "Are they expensive?" "Extremely." I picked up the summary. "I don't need until Friday," I said. "I'll take it." When I returned to my desk, my phone showed a new message from Mom. "Your father moved his meeting. He'll take me Thursday." A second message appeared. "I hope you're happy." I looked at it for a long time. Then I opened my work calendar and accepted the first trip to Cincinnati. Tasha noticed the new title in my email signature before I told her. She appeared at the edge of my cubicle holding 2 vending machine cookies. Regional Operations Lead? The system updates fast. You accepted? About 20 minutes ago. She handed me a cookie. Then this is champagne. It expired last month. Vintage. We tapped plastic wrappers together. Have you told your family? She asked. No. Are you going to? I assume the dental supply industry will issue a press release. She sat on the corner of my desk. You can be happy, you know. I am happy. You look like somebody offered you a promotion in exchange for 1 kidney. I turned the salary summary face down. The happiness was there. So was a strange sense that I had stepped onto an escalator going the wrong direction, and everyone behind me would soon complain about the inconvenience. I had a whole speech prepared for when this happened, I said. I was going to thank Sandra for working around my schedule and ask for 30 days before the first trip. What changed? My schedule. Tasha looked at my phone, which still displayed Mom's message. I don't enjoy this part, I said. Which part? The part where saying yes to myself looks like saying no to everybody else. Those people have enjoyed the opposite arrangement for years. That doesn't answer me. No, it just makes me less interested in their review. Mom called Thursday at 4:11, 40 minutes after her appointment. I was expecting a report of disaster. Dad would have parked in the wrong garage, forgotten the medication list, challenged the doctor's directions, or dropped Mom at the entrance without checking whether the elevator worked. Instead, she said, "Your father took notes." On purpose? 4 pages. That feels threatening. He asked the doctor 3 questions. Were any of them about Owen? Mara. Sorry. I heard the turn signal clicking in the background. The hip looks good, she said. I don't need another follow-up for a year. That's great. Yes. Another turn signal. Dad hated silence in the car. The fact that Mom could call me while he drove meant he was either making a point or too tired to object. Did the insurance car service work? I asked. We didn't need it. Your father moved his meeting. I know. He took me to lunch. That was nice. He was perfectly capable. Mom sounded irritated by this. I looked out the office window. I figured he was. Then why have you been taking me all this time? The question caught me off guard. Because you asked. I asked because he always said he couldn't, and I always said I could. Mom was quiet. Dad said something from the driver's seat. What? She asked him. His voice came muffled through the phone. She told him she was talking to me. Then to me, she said, "He says your message caused another donor to back out." Of course he does. He wants to know if you're available Sunday. For what? We're having dinner. That's different from being available. We need to talk as a family. I thought that was what Bellini's was. That is not funny. It's a little funny. She sighed. 6 o'clock. Will there be cards? No cards. Boards? Mara. I'll come. Before she hung up, Mom said, "I'm sorry I wrote that. I hoped you were happy." I leaned back in my chair. Are you? Am I what? Sorry? I shouldn't have said it that way. That was not an answer, but it was closer than she had come on Sunday. I accepted a promotion, I said. Mom made a soft, surprised sound. You did? Regional Operations Lead. Oh, honey, that's wonderful. For 3 full seconds, she sounded uncomplicatedly proud. Then she asked, "Does that mean more travel?" Some. What kind of travel? Cincinnati twice a month. Cleveland occasionally. That seems like a lot. It's not. Well, we can talk Sunday. The warmth disappeared so gently, I almost doubted it had been there. That evening, my phone stayed quiet until 7:30. Then Owen texted, "Do you remember which ice company delivers after 6?" I stared at the message. I knew the answer. Great Lakes Ice had an after-hours number printed on the refrigerator magnet beside the catering entrance. They charged double and always arrived with the truck radio loud enough to hear from inside. I typed, "Check the magnet by the catering fridge." 3 dots appeared. I'm not there. Renee says there's no magnet. I typed top number in the vendor binder. The dots appeared again. You could just tell me. I set down the phone. 5 minutes later, he sent, "Found it." At 10:43, another message arrived. "Event survived. Agency bartender poured bourbon into 3 white wine glasses and called Prosecco champagne, but nobody died." I smiled before I could stop myself. "Good," I wrote. After a minute, I added, "The tall wine glasses are in the locked cabinet because people steal them." He replied, "That would have been useful at 6. I deleted 3 different answers and sent nothing. His list of 10 questions came Friday morning. To his credit, they were real questions. The catering deposit schedule was confusing because Owen had changed it twice. Renee's bonus formula existed in a spreadsheet called final _ Renee _ bonus _ use _ this _ 1 _ 2, which narrowed nothing. 1 equipment lease automatically renewed unless canceled by August. I answered each question and attached the correct files. At the bottom, I wrote, "This completes the handoff. I'm not available for ongoing Foundry work. Please make sure Renee has everything she needs." Owen replied with a thumbs up. An hour later, he asked where we kept the key for the patio heater cages. I wrote, "That was not on the list." He responded, "Seriously?" I did not answer. Sunday dinner at my parents' house smelled like pot roast and unresolved conflict. Mom let me in and hugged me with one arm because she was carrying a serving spoon in the other. Dad sat at the dining room table with his laptop open, speaking into his phone. "No, I completely understand," he said. "I just wanted you to know the campaign remains active, and there is no bad blood whatsoever." He saw me and turned his chair away. Mom lowered her voice. "He has been calling everyone." Tasha mentioned, "He feels responsible." He is responsible. I mean, for making sure Owen gets a fair chance. From the kitchen, a cabinet slammed. Owen emerged holding a bottle of wine. "I've been here 9 minutes. "How many cabinets have you offended?" I asked. 3. "This house was built for people with different arms." He hugged me. It was brief, but real. Dad ended his call. "That was Luis." "Did he donate?" I asked. "No." "Then I guess his policy held." Dad closed the laptop. "What policy?" "Nothing." Mom herded us toward the table before the conversation could become itself. Dinner began with ordinary things. Mom complained about a neighbor's new porch light. Owen described a customer who wanted to release live doves inside the foundry. Dad explained why the city had timed a nearby traffic signal incorrectly. I waited for someone to mention my promotion. Mom had not told them. I could have interpreted that as respect for my news. In our family, it usually meant she had decided the timing was inconvenient. Halfway through the pot roast, I said, "I got promoted." Owen looked up immediately. "You did. Regional operations lead." "Mar, that's huge." He raised his water glass. Dad cut another piece of meat. "Is this the job with travel?" "It's the position with travel, yes. How much?" "Twice a month at first." "To Cincinnati?" Owen asked. "And sometimes Cleveland. Do they hate you?" "Apparently." Owen grinned. "Congratulations." Mom touched my arm. "We are proud of you." Dad swallowed. "When does it start?" "Already. Convenient." The single word sat in the middle of the table. "For what?" I asked. "The foundry crisis. My employer did not create a regional position to interfere with Owen's fundraiser. You know what I mean?" "No, I don't." Dad set down his fork. "You've withdrawn from everything at the exact moment your brother needs family support." Owen looked at him. "Her promotion has nothing to do with me." Dad waved him off. "I'm making a broader point." "She earned it," Owen said. "I didn't say she didn't. You said it was convenient. Because it is. It's a job, Dad." I watched my brother, surprised. Owen did not look at me. He concentrated on cutting his carrots into smaller and smaller pieces. Dad leaned back. "Fine." "Congratulations, Mara. Thank you." His tone made it sound like I had demanded applause during a house fire. Mom stood to refill the water pitcher, though it was still half full. Dad folded his napkin beside his plate. "I spoke to 18 people from the dinner." "You called all of them?" "I called the people who expressed interest. You called Tasha. She filled out a card. She tore it in half. She picked up a pen initially. That is a fascinating standard of consent. I was trying to correct the impression your email created. My email said I wasn't involved. I'm still not involved. 5 people withdrew specific pledges after receiving it. Then they pledged under the wrong impression. Celia is still contributing. Good. She wanted to. Do you hear yourself? You act like none of this affects you. It affects me every day. Owen pushed his plate away. Dad, leave it. No, you may be willing to let her punish you because you feel guilty, but I'm not. I'm not letting her do anything. Your event cost nearly $600 more because she refused to cover one bartending shift. Then the event cost $600 more. Owen's face had gone red. Dad pointed toward him. This is what I'm talking about. He is too proud to say it, but your choices have consequences. Yes, I said. That is what choices do. Mom returned with the same half-full pitcher. We are having an open house at the Foundry next Saturday, Dad said. A proper campaign launch. Business owners, former customers, community contacts, no pressure tactics, no confusion. I looked at Owen. Do you want this? He hesitated. We need to raise money, he said. That was not yes, but it was not no. Dad continued. I'm not asking you for $10,000. I'm asking you to attend and show that the family is united. You're asking to use my presence the way you tried to use my name. I am asking you not to sabotage your brother. I won't say anything about the open house. I also won't be there. Mom sat beside me. You don't even know if you're traveling. I'm not. Then why can't you come for 1 hour? Because Owen would look relieved. Because Mom would hug me at the door. Because Dad would introduce me as the graduate whose business skills were guiding the campaign. Because every person there would interpret my body in the room as an endorsement, and my family knew it. I don't support the campaign, I said. Dad's face became very still. If the Foundry closes, he said, you are going to have to live with the fact that you could have helped. Owen stared at his plate. Mom's hand rested inches from mine without touching it. I picked up my fork. I'm already living with the fact that I did, I said. Dad's expression shifted from anger to disbelief. You did? He asked. Yes. For what, exactly? Sitting at the office 2 nights a week? Usually 3. Owen looked at him. She's covered more events than half the people I've hired. I'm aware she helped. Are you? Dad turned toward him. Do you think this is helping you? I think maybe stop talking like she owes me. I am trying to save your business. I know. Then act like it. Mom placed both palms on the table. Can we please finish one meal without everyone choosing a side? Nobody answered because every possible answer was a side. She began collecting plates that still had food on them. Mom, sit down, I said. If no one is eating, I'm clearing. I'm still eating, Owen said. You pushed your plate away. I was making a point. Make it with the carrots in your mouth. He pulled his plate back. That was Mom's real talent. She could not stop a family conflict, but she could force it to obey table manners. Dad opened his laptop again. What are you doing? She asked. Working. At dinner? I have calls to return. Owen let out a breath. Dad, the open house is supposed to be my event. Then organize it. I am organizing it. You still haven't confirmed a speaker. I am the speaker. It's my business. You need someone with community standing. I host retirement parties and sell bar packages. I'm not rebuilding a hospital. Dad looked at me. This is what I deal with. Don't recruit me. I am not recruiting you. I am explaining why family support is necessary. Owen stood. I'm done. Mom's head snapped up. There's pie. I don't want pie. You always want pie. Not enough to stay. He carried his plate to the kitchen. Dad kept typing. I followed Owen into the narrow hall near the garage. You didn't have to defend me, I said. He picked up his jacket. I wasn't defending you. It looked like it from the carrots. I was telling Dad to stop speaking for me. That's new. Don't make me regret it. He shoved one arm into his sleeve. The promotion really is good, he said. Thank you. Regional means people report to you? Some. God help them. I know where the patio heater key is. He smiled, then looked toward the dining room. You sure about Saturday? Yes. You could come as my sister. No pledge, no work. Would Dad introduce me? I'd tell him not to. Would people think I support the campaign? They might. Then I can't. His smile disappeared. You mean you won't? Fine, I won't. He nodded as if the distinction mattered. At the front door, he stopped again. I'm not asking you to fix anything, but if you hear rumors about the foundry closing, don't repeat them. I don't repeat rumors. You correct them very accurately. Then don't give me anything to correct. He left. I stayed for pie. Mom cut me a piece too large for the plate and wrapped a second in foil for later. Dad remained at the table with his laptop. His voice followed us into the kitchen as he left a message for someone from the dinner. This is Russell Ellis. I wanted to personally clear up any confusion from Saturday night. Mom ran water over the plates. Are you helping with the open house? I asked. Of course. What are you doing? Food, check-in, decorations, whatever they need. What did you want to do next Saturday? She scrubbed a serving platter that was already clean. This. That wasn't my question. Not everyone thinks helping family is a trap. I never said it was. You didn't have to. She turned off the water. For a moment, we stood close enough that I could see the fine crease her glasses left on the bridge of her nose. I wanted to hug her. I wanted her to ask about my promotion again. I wanted to tell her the salary and hear her make the little, impressed whistle she used when something cost more than expected. Instead, she handed me the foil-wrapped pie. Drive carefully, she said. By Wednesday, 3 people had contacted me about the open house. A former Foundry caterer emailed to ask whether I could confirm the expected attendance. A print shop texted that the campaign brochures were ready and wanted to know whether I approved the final quantity. Then a wholesale florist called me at work about an overdue invoice Owen had promised would be included in the next funding cycle. I forwarded everything to Owen with the same sentence. I'm no longer involved with Foundry operations. Please update your contacts. He replied after the florist message. I did not give them your work number. You gave them my cell, I wrote. They found the office when I didn't answer. I'll handle it. Please remove me as a business contact everywhere. That's going to take time. Start. He did not respond. Dad added me to a group text called Foundry Open House Team. It included Mom, Owen, Renee, Aunt Celia, 2 former customers, and several numbers I did not recognize. Dad. Current RSVP count is 108. Need confirmation on seating layout and contribution card stations. Renee, we only set food for 65 based on Owen's estimate. Dad, this is a fundraising event, not a dinner. Food is secondary. Mom, people still expect enough food. Aunt Celia, I can bring cookies. Dad, we need professional presentation. Mom, Celia's cookies are professional. Aunt Celia, thank you, Diane. Dad, you know what I mean. Owen, no pledge card stations, 1 information table near exit. Dad, we need multiple points of engagement. Owen, 1 table. The typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. I left the group. Dad added me back 11 minutes later. Dad, please remain on this thread for situational awareness, even if you choose not to participate. I left again and muted him. Saturday morning arrived bright and hot. I had planned to clean my apartment and prepare for my first Cincinnati trip. Instead, I stood in the framing aisle of a craft store with Erin, comparing black frames that appeared identical except for price. This one says, museum quality, she said. Are museums displaying diplomas in suburban office parks? Somewhere. The expensive one has anti-glare glass. You paid for 4 years of school. Spend $40 so nobody mistakes it for a menu. My diploma had arrived in a flat cardboard envelope on Thursday. I had opened it alone at my kitchen counter, checked the spelling twice, and put it back because I did not own a frame. Erin held 2 options against my chest. Black, she decided. They are both black. One is emotionally blacker. My phone rang. Owen. I let it ring twice, then answered. What's wrong? Why do you assume something is wrong? You called instead of texting. I need a name. No. You don't know what I'm asking. If it's a name I have and you need, it's probably work. He exhaled. I could hear voices and the scrape of furniture behind him. The caterer brought 60 servings. Dad invited almost 50 more people without updating the order. Then you have 60 servings. Mom is losing her mind. Mom believes food shortages are a moral failure. She wants to start making trays at home. Don't let her. Great. What do I do instead? I closed my eyes. The answer arranged itself instantly. Split the portions, remove the dinner plates, switch to cocktail napkins, add inexpensive flatbreads, put food out in waves, and stop calling it lunch. Aaron watched my face. Call Bellini's, I said. Ask if they can do 6 trays of flatbread with 2 hours' notice. You just said no. I gave you a restaurant. The manager knows you. He also knows Dad. That is not a selling point. Owen, can you call? No. It would take 5 minutes. Then it can take you 5 minutes. They're going to say no to me. Then order pizza from somewhere else. For a campaign open house, you have an event venue with insufficient food and more guests than planned. That is exactly the kind of problem you get paid to solve. He was quiet. In the background, Dad called his name. I have to go, Owen said. Good luck. Yeah. He hung up without thanking me. Erin placed the emotionally blacker frame in our cart. You helped, she said. I named a restaurant. You also changed the service format in your head. I did not say that part out loud. Growth. We spent the afternoon putting my apartment back together around the framed diploma. I hung it above the small desk in my living room. It tilted left. Erin adjusted it. Then it tilted right. After 4 attempts, we accepted that either the wall or my education had a slight lean. At 4:30, Mom sent a photograph to the family group I had not been able to escape because she posted it in the original one. The Foundry's main room was full. Guests stood between high-top tables with drinks in their hands. Trays of rectangular flatbread sat along the bar. Aunt Celia's cookies occupied the center of the information table, despite Dad's professional standards. Mom wrote, "Beautiful turnout. Wish you were here." Dad added, "Family shows up." Owen sent nothing. I put my phone face down. At 7, it rang again. This time, Owen sounded exhausted. "Event survived," he said. "Second one this week. You're on a streak. We ran out of mushroom flatbread, but apparently scarcity creates demand. How much did you raise?" $8,400 in commitments. Some of it services. That's good. Dad wanted 40. Dad wanted my advisor to fund a patio. He gave a tired laugh. Did he behave? I asked. No. What happened? He started his speech by saying the whole family was working together, even if some people couldn't attend. I felt my jaw tighten. And I took the microphone. I sat down on the edge of my couch. You did what? I said you weren't part of the campaign, you didn't approve the graduation thing, and nobody should donate because they thought you were managing anything. I looked at my framed diploma, leaning almost imperceptibly over the desk. What did Dad do? What do you think? Kept smiling until his face developed structural damage? Pretty much. Why did you correct him? Because I didn't want to spend the whole night wondering who thought you were behind it. That didn't bother you at Bellini's. I know. The words came without defense. I waited. Owen said, Dad left before cleanup. Mom? Still here. She's reorganizing the refrigerator because she's furious. That tracks. He says I undermined him. Did you? Probably. Are you sorry? Not yet. Someone called for Owen in the background. He told them he would be there in a minute. I have to finish closing, he said. Okay, $8,400 isn't enough. I know, but it's real. Yes. He was quiet again. Then he said, Congratulations on the diploma. How did you know it came? Mom told me. She asked if she should buy you a frame. She didn't. I told her you'd already have one. I looked at the black frame Aaron had chosen. For once, I said, you were wrong. After we hung up, I left my phone beside the couch and walked over to straighten the diploma. It did not need it. I adjusted it anyway. On the first drive to Cincinnati, I kept reaching toward the passenger seat for a phone that was locked in my bag. I was not using it. I had promised Sandra I understood the company's hands-free policy, and I was not going to begin my promotion by explaining that regional leadership made me above traffic laws. The reaching was habit. Tuesday mornings, Mom usually called to tell me what Dad had forgotten to put on the grocery list. Owen sent questions from the foundry. Dad texted reminders that were actually assignments. By the time I reached the office outside Cincinnati, nobody had contacted me. I should have felt peaceful. Instead, I checked that the phone was charged. The day went well. Better than well. The Cincinnati branch had spent 6 months blaming its warehouse for delayed installations. The warehouse blamed the sales team. The sales team blamed an inventory program everybody claimed was impossible to understand. By lunch, I found that all 3 groups used different names for the same shipment status. Nobody was malicious. Nobody was even especially incompetent. They had built a system out of small misunderstandings and then treated the resulting chaos like weather. I knew something about that. We spent the afternoon mapping handoffs on a whiteboard. When one manager tried to volunteer his assistant for 3 additional tasks, I asked whether the assistant had agreed. The room went quiet in a way I recognized. "We'll ask her," he said. It was a small thing. It still followed me back to the hotel. Sandra called at 6. How did it go? 3 departments were using the word confirmed to mean 3 different things. Of course they were. We have new definitions. Look at you, imposing language on Ohio. I'm drunk with power. You sound tired. I'm in a hotel room decorated entirely in beige. It's draining my life force. You wanted regional. I wanted 2 regions with better taste. She laughed. Go eat dinner. Send me the summary tomorrow. I hung up and stood by the window, looking down at a parking lot, a highway, and the glowing sign of a chain steakhouse. My room had 2 beds. One held my suitcase. The other was empty enough to feel accusatory. I took a picture of a terrible brass wall sconce because Owen would have hated it. My thumb hovered over his name. I did not send it. At 7:15, Mom called. Are you busy? She asked. No. You're in Cincinnati? Yes, how is it? Beige. The city? The hotel? She made the little laugh I had been missing. Your father stayed at one near the airport once that had purple carpet, she said. He said it looked like a casino where no one had fun. That's also our house during Sunday dinner. Mara, you walked into that one. I suppose I did. We talked about the drive, the office, and the fact that my room's air conditioner sounded like it was chewing gravel. For almost 10 minutes, neither of us mentioned Owen. Then Mom said, Your father and your brother aren't speaking. I'm sorry, are you? Yes. You don't sound surprised. I heard what happened at the open house. Owen had no right to embarrass him in front of everyone. Dad had no right to imply I was involved. I know. The words came so quickly I thought I had misheard. Mom continued before I could respond. Russell was wrong to do that. Again. Did you tell him? He hasn't been especially interested in my opinion. That's not what I asked. She sighed. Yes. I told him. I sat on the edge of the empty bed. What did he say? That I was choosing sides. And what did you say? That he makes sides when he refuses to stop. I smiled despite myself. That's good. It did not improve his mood. I'm guessing it wasn't designed to. Mom went quiet. In the background, a television played. Dad liked news anchors who sounded personally offended by every development. Owen is talking about canceling the patio, she said. He should, and selling some of the new equipment. He probably should do that too. Your father thinks he's panicking because the fundraiser didn't meet its goal. The fundraiser did not change the math. I'm not asking you to solve it. My answer died before I spoke. Mom heard the silence. I know that's what I usually do, she said. Usually? All right. Often. Mom. Almost always. Is that enough? It's accurate. There's that word. I lay back against the hotel pillows. How is Owen? Tired. He comes by when your father isn't home. That sounds sustainable. He ate half a meatloaf yesterday. That's his stress response. I know. She hesitated. He misses you. He has my number. So do you. I looked again at the brass sconce. Did Dad ask you to tell me that? No. Did Owen? No. People can observe things without being instructed, Mara. Recent events have weakened my confidence. That's fair. We both went quiet. Mom said, I am proud of you. The words were careful, as if she had carried them around all day and was afraid of dropping them. Thank you. I should have said more at dinner. You were busy keeping the carrots under control. I mean about the promotion. I know. She told me to get dinner somewhere that did not require crossing the highway. I told her to stop letting Dad treat basic household knowledge like classified information. We hung up without fixing anything. It was the best conversation we had had since Bellini's. When I returned home Friday evening, Dad was sitting on the bench outside my apartment building. He wore khakis and a pale blue button-down with the sleeves folded neatly at his forearms. A man waiting for a civil conversation. You could have called, I said. You might have said no. That is how calling works. He stood and reached for my suitcase. I have it. I can carry a bag, so can I. He dropped his hand. The front door required a resident code. I entered it while he stood close enough to make clear that I would either let him follow me or create a scene on the sidewalk. I chose the quieter mistake. Inside my apartment, Dad noticed the diploma immediately. You framed it. Aaron helped. He stepped closer to read it, though he had attended the ceremony and knew exactly what it said. Looks good, he said. Thanks. You should put it in your office. I like it here. He nodded, absorbing the correction. I did not offer him anything to drink. Dad sat in the armchair. I remained standing. Your mother says the trip went well, he said. It did. I'm glad. Thank you. The civility lasted 4 sentences. That might have been a record. Dad rested his forearms on his knees. Owen is making decisions out of fear. He owns the business. He's selling assets for less than he paid. That happens when you buy things before you need them. He is canceling the patio project. I heard. You advised him to do that. I have advised him not to build the patio for almost a year. So yes. Yes. Dad sat back. You've had your disagreement with me. Fine. But I need you to talk to your brother. A laugh escaped me. His eyebrows rose. What is funny? You came here because you need me to influence Owen after spending 2 weeks accusing me of withdrawing my influence. This is different. Why? Because you'd be helping him make a sound decision, the decision you want, the decision that gives the business a chance to grow. The business needs to survive before it grows. That kind of thinking is how people stay small. No, building a patio with money you don't have is how people go broke at a larger square footage. Dad's mouth tightened. This is what Owen listens to, he said. The certainty. You make everything sound inevitable. I'm not talking to him for you. You don't even have to mention me. Just help him see that dismantling the plan now makes all our work worthless. Our work? I have spent 3 years keeping that place alive. So have I. And now you're quitting at the worst possible time. I already quit. Family is not a job. Then stop assigning shifts. He stood and walked toward the diploma again. He did not look at it this time. He looked at his reflection in the glass. Do you know how many people I called after your email? He asked. 18. 21. Congratulations. One man accused me of using your graduation to solicit money under false pretenses. Did you? I returned his check. I went quiet. Dad turned toward me. $500. He made it out Saturday night, then called after he got your message and demanded it back as if I had stolen from him. You did the right thing by returning it. That is all you have to say? What do you want me to say? That you understand what your email did. It told him the truth. It turned a family misunderstanding into a question of character. You made it a question of character when you used my name. His face reddened. I raised you to have more loyalty than this. You raised me to be useful. I raised you to be strong. And every time Owen wasn't strong, you handed me his share. That is not fair. It is exactly what happened. Your brother needs more support than you do." The sentence came out simple and automatic. Dad did not even seem to recognize it as a confession. I crossed my arms. Why? Because he takes risks. He feels things deeply. When something goes wrong, it hits him hard. And nothing hits me, you handle it. Because nobody else will. Because you can. We looked at each other across my living room. Dad's eyes moved away first. "I don't know when you decided competence was something we did to you," he said. "I don't know when you decided it was permission." He picked up his car keys from the side table. "Your mother thinks I owe you another apology. She's right. I am sorry the dinner became unpleasant." "No." His jaw shifted. "You don't get to dictate my words. I get to decide whether they're an apology. I was trying to help your brother, at my expense. You keep saying that as if you lost something. There it was again. If I still had the degree, the job, the apartment, and the ability to stand upright, then no harm qualified. I lost the one graduation dinner I asked for," I said. "I lost the ability to believe Mom when she promised it was my night. I lost whatever version of you I thought wanted the guest list because you were proud." Dad looked at the floor. For a moment, I thought I had reached him. Then he said, "We were all proud. That's what makes your reaction so difficult to understand." I opened the door. He stared at it. "You're doing this again?" "Yes." "Mara, if you keep reducing family to who agreed to what, eventually no one will ask anything of you." The threat hurt because part of me wanted exactly what he described, and another part was terrified of it. "I'm willing to find out," I said. Dad walked into the hall. He stopped without turning around. "Owen will lose that business if he listens to you. Owen may lose it anyway. And you can live with that? I'm learning to live with things I can't control." He shook his head and left. I closed the door, leaned against it, and waited for relief. What came instead was silence. I unpacked my suitcase, started laundry, and reheated soup. I took the brass sconce picture out of my drafts and sent it to Owen with no caption. He replied almost immediately. "That fixture has committed a crime." I smiled. Then another message appeared. "Can we meet Sunday?" "Not at the Foundry. No business questions. Just me." I read it twice before answering. Okay. Owen chose a diner halfway between our apartments, the kind of place with laminated menus, bottomless coffee, and a dessert case that made every pie look slightly radioactive. He was already in a booth when I arrived. "You're early," I said. "I wanted to establish that I'm capable. How long have you been here?" 4 minutes. Remarkable growth. A waitress appeared before I sat down and filled my cup without asking whether I wanted coffee. Owen had ordered toast and nothing else. The toast was untouched. "No business questions," I said. "I remember." "No requests." "I remember." "No names of after-hours ice suppliers." "That one seems punitive." I wrapped both hands around the mug. "Why are we here?" Owen looked toward the front windows. Outside, a man was trying to fit a potted plant into the passenger seat of a small car. He turned it 3 times, as though the plant might become narrower from a different angle. "I told Dad I'm ending the campaign," Owen said. "That sounds like business. It's context." "What did he say?" "He said I was emotional." "Were you?" I threw a box of brochures into a recycling bin pretty hard. So, yes. The campaign raised $8,400 in actual commitments. About $3,000 of that is services. The rest doesn't keep us open long enough to justify another month of Dad calling people. What happens to the commitments? I'm accepting the ones from people who knew what they were supporting and returning anything connected to the dinner. Celia already told me I'd have to pry her check from her hand. That sounds like Celia. She wrote, "I told you so" on the memo line. To whom? Unclear. Possibly all of us. The waitress came back. I ordered eggs and hash browns. Owen looked at the menu, then ordered pancakes without opening it. "You're canceling the patio?" I asked. "Yes." "Selling the equipment?" "Some. The new bar shelves, too. They lacked durable vision. They have acquired resale value. I smiled into my coffee. He did not. Dad thinks I'm giving up, he said. He says people were finally taking the Foundry seriously. People booked events there for 3 years. That's not what he means. I know. Dad wanted growth because growth looked like proof. A stable room that paid its bills would never impress him as much as a second room promised on glossy paper. Owen tore open a packet of sugar and poured it into his untouched coffee. I sat down with Renee and an accountant, he said. A real accountant. I'm proud of you already. Don't be. She charged me for the meeting. That is generally how accountants work. We can get through the year if I shrink the packages, sell what we don't use, and stop treating every event like it needs to become a portfolio shoot. We're busy enough for a venue. We're not busy enough for the business I've been pretending we are. That sounds sensible. It feels horrible. Those overlap more than people admit. The waitress set down our plates. Owen poured syrup over his pancakes until the top one floated. I ate half a hash brown while he cut a perfect triangle and did not lift it. I didn't ask you here to approve the plan, he said. Good. I asked because I owe you an apology. You've said you were sorry. I've said things that contain the word. That's true. He set down his fork. At Bellini's, I knew Dad wanted to use the dinner to launch the campaign. I knew about the board. I knew about the pledge cards. I knew he was going to suggest people give to the Foundry instead of buying you gifts. I know. I didn't know about the 10,000 or the financial coordinator thing. That part was Dad. Yes. But you thought I would become involved. Yes. I waited. The diner was busy around us. Silverware struck plates. Someone fed quarters into the jukebox near the restrooms, and an old soul song began playing too loudly through one damaged speaker. Owen pressed his thumb into the corner of his toast. When Dad first suggested it, I told him it was a bad idea, he said. Did you? I said you'd be mad. That's not the same. I know. He said you might be mad at first, but you'd understand once you saw the plan. Then he said you had all these people coming who trusted you and that this was our best chance to get in front of them. My guests, yes. What did you say? Nothing. That seems to be the family answer. I told myself Dad would talk to you. Then I told myself Mom would make sure he did. Then Saturday came, and I knew nobody had talked to you. Before I walked in, he nodded. How long before? Dad asked me to bring the board over at 4. The image arrived fully formed. Owen carrying that gold-lettered rendering through Bellini's side entrance, while I was still at home getting dressed. Mom straightening the banner, Dad arranging cards. All 3 of them moving around a room built for me, preparing the part I was not supposed to see until it was too late to object politely. You had 3 hours, I said. I know. You called me 2 days before and said you were proud of me. I was. You knew while you were saying it. Not all the details. Enough. Yes. I put down my fork. Owen's pancakes absorbed the syrup and sank. Why? I asked. He looked at me then. Because your graduation made me feel like garbage. The answer was so blunt that I almost missed what he meant. My degree made you feel like garbage? No, you did it. You went back, worked the whole time, never missed anything, and finished with honors. I missed plenty. Nobody remembers what you miss. I do. That's my point. He rubbed both hands over his face. At the ceremony, Dad kept telling people how determined you were. Mom cried every time she looked at you. Aunt Celia said you were proof it was never too late to finish what you started. That was about me. I know. Was nobody allowed to be proud of me because you were having a bad year? No. I'm explaining, not defending. He picked up his fork and put it down again. I was sitting there thinking, she finally has proof. She has the degree, the promotion coming, the whole thing. You were the one who stayed and helped everybody, and now you were also the one moving forward. I was still the guy Dad was quietly paying to keep afloat. Not quietly. Right. The damaged speaker crackled through the chorus. Owen leaned closer across the table. I knew what everyone would see when we stood together for pictures. The successful daughter and the son who had another big idea that wasn't working. Then Dad said the dinner could help the foundry, and suddenly your graduation wasn't proof that you had outgrown me. It was proof that you were still with me. The shame in his face kept me from reaching for an easy response. So you turned it into something about you, I said. Yes, at least that's honest. I didn't think of it that way in the moment. What did you think? That you'd be angry? Then you'd help. Because I always do. Because you like helping. I sat back. He did not look away. You do, he said, or you did. You liked being the person who knew what to do. You liked walking into the foundry and finding everything wrong because then you could make it right. That doesn't excuse you, I know, but if we're doing the whole truth, you weren't dragged there every Tuesday. Sometimes I didn't even call. He was right, and I hated him for the relief that came with hearing it. There had been Tuesdays when I went to the foundry because my apartment was quiet, and Owen's office always had a problem waiting. I liked the staff asking whether I knew where something was. I liked Owen's shoulders dropping when I appeared. Being needed was easier than wondering whether I was wanted. I thought it was how I belonged, I said. Owen's expression softened. You belonged before the spreadsheets. Did I? Yes. You didn't act like it at dinner. No. The waitress refilled our coffee. Neither of us spoke until she moved away. Owen said, I'm sorry I let Dad use your graduation. I'm sorry I used it too. I'm sorry I stood beside that board and thanked you for something you never agreed to. And when you said no, I blamed you because blaming you felt better than admitting I knew it was wrong before it started. The apology sat between us without asking to be accepted. I looked down at my plate. Thank you, I said. That sounds very Dr. Patel. She taught me useful language. Are we okay? No. He nodded once. But we're not where we were, I said. Better or worse? More accurate. There she is. This time the phrase sounded almost affectionate. He finally ate a bite of pancake. After he swallowed, he said, There's one more thing. That sentence has never improved my life. I owe you money. I'm not talking about the fundraiser. Neither am I. He pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. I stared at it. You brought business. It's personal debt with office formatting. On the paper, he had listed the electric bill I covered during the previous winter, 2 liquor orders, a replacement glassware invoice, and 3 smaller expenses I had forgotten. The total was $4,680. You missed the emergency plumber, I said. I thought Dad paid that. Dad said he would. I paid it. Owen closed his eyes. How much? $320. He added it with a pen. $5,000 exactly, he said. Apparently our family prefers round, symbolic amounts. I can pay $200 a month starting next month. That will take more than 2 years. I know how months work. You need cash for the business. I also need to stop calling your money help when I mean debt. I folded the paper. I didn't lend it expecting repayment. That was convenient for me. I looked at him. He gave a small shrug. I'm learning language too. We left the diner after almost 2 hours. Beside our cars, Owen shoved his hands into his jacket pockets. Dad came to see you, he said. How do you know? He told me you poisoned me against expansion. That's a lot of power for one conversation. He thinks ending the campaign is about you. Is it? Partly. Mostly, it's about the fact that every person who gives Dad money becomes another reason he thinks the original plan was right. He opened his car door. I told him I don't want more money from him, he said. How did that go? He asked whether I was trying to kill him. That's measured. Mom sent me home with meatloaf. Also measured. He started to get into the car, then stopped. Mar? Yeah? You said you'd be my sister. I said I would be your sister, not your emergency staff. Right. What does the sister part include? The question was not a joke. Bad wall sconce pictures, I said. Occasional breakfast. Honest answers when you actually want them. Can I invite you to things? You can invite me, and you can say no, yes. He nodded. That sounds terrible, but fair. On Monday morning, $200 appeared in my bank account with the note, First of many. Not symbolic. I stared at it longer than the amount deserved. Then Mom called. She did not say hello. "Your father is at the foundry," she said. "He took all the campaign materials, and he says he's going to contact every donor himself." "Okay." "Mara," Owen told him he doesn't want the campaign. "Then Owen needs to handle it." He tried. "They're shouting. I'm at work. I know." The old emergency opened its mouth and waited for me to climb inside. Mom breathed into the phone. Then quietly she said, "You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called you to fix it." I sat very still. "What are you going to do?" I asked. "I'm going over there. Do you want me to stay on the phone while you drive?" "No, I can drive." "All right." She paused. "This is not your job," she said, as if testing the sentence for weight. "No, then I'll call you later as your mother." We hung up. For the rest of the morning, I kept expecting another call. None came. Mom called at 3:27. "I'm calling as your mother," she said. "How did it go?" "Poorly. Are you okay?" "Yes. I'm sitting in my car outside Celia's house." "Why?" "She has coffee." "Also, your father does not know I'm here, and I wanted 20 minutes in which nobody knew where I was. That sounds healthy. It feels wonderful." I leaned back in my desk chair. What happened at the foundry? "Russell took the cards and brochures because he said Owen was making a mistake. Owen told him to leave. Your father said he had put too much money and reputation into the campaign to watch Owen throw it away." "What reputation?" I did not ask. It seemed unwise. Good instinct. I told him the campaign was for Owen's business, so if Owen ended it, that was the end. And he said I had joined the opposition. Of course. I told him there was no opposition. There were only 3 people asking him to stop. I pictured Mom in the foundry office, probably still holding her purse because she never set it down during confrontations. Dad beside the reversed campaign board. Owen tired and furious. Renee somewhere nearby pretending exposed brick had suddenly become fascinating. "Did he stop?" I asked. "No. He took the materials home. That doesn't sound like stopping." Owen changed the campaign page to say it was closed. He emailed everyone who pledged at the open house. "Your father can call people, but there is nothing active to give to. Dad will love that." He did not. "What did you do?" "I left." The answer surprised me. "You left Dad there?" I told him I would speak to him when he was ready to stop shouting. Then I left. "Mom." "What? That's good." I cried in the grocery store parking lot. "Still good. I bought 7 lemons and no actual groceries. Less good." She laughed, and the sound broke halfway through. "I'm sorry," I said. "So am I." We stayed on the phone while she sat outside Celia's house, and I pretended to review an inventory report. She did not ask me to call Dad. She did not ask me to call Owen. When Aunt Celia knocked on her car window and scared her badly enough to swear, Mom said she would call me later. She did, but only to tell me Celia had made lemon bars. The foundry did not collapse when Owen ended the campaign. It also did not become healthy overnight. He sold the replacement bar shelves to a restaurant opening in Dayton. The patio rendering disappeared from the office wall. He cut 3 premium event packages down to 1, stopped including free upgrades to impress customers, and began tending bar whenever the agency rate would turn a profitable booking into a loss. Renee took over the vendor calendar. A paid bookkeeper took over the accounts. Nobody took over my Tuesdays. Owen sent the second $200 payment exactly 1 month after the first. The note said, "Still not symbolic." I sent back a thumbs up. He replied, "You could say thank you." I wrote, "You could have paid me 2 years ago." He sent a picture of the ugly brass sconce with a red circle and slash drawn over it. We were not okay. We were becoming something that did not require pretending we had been. Mom asked me to meet her for coffee the following Saturday. She arrived without food, clothing, or household objects she could use as an excuse. "That's unsettling," I said as she sat down. "What is?" "You brought nothing. I brought my purse. You always have your purse." "Then I am consistent." She ordered tea. I ordered coffee. For several minutes, we discussed a woman at the next table who was conducting a job interview loudly enough that we knew both candidates' salary expectations. Then Mom wrapped both hands around her cup. "I owe you an apology that does not end with a suggestion," she said. I looked at her. She took a breath. "I knew your father planned to talk about the Foundry at your dinner. I knew about the cards before you arrived. I helped put them in the room." The last sentence hurt in a clean new place. "You carried them in?" "I put them on the sideboard. The waiter had taken them out because Russell wanted them ready after the speeches." I remembered Mom standing on the chair beneath my banner, Dad's chalked cuff, Owen coming through the kitchen door. "You asked me for the cap," I said. "Yes." "You kept me looking at the cake." "Yes." "Why?" "Because your father still had not spoken to you, and I knew if you saw the cards before the guests arrived, you would make him remove them." "You're right." I told myself I was preventing a fight. Really, I was preventing you from having a choice. She did not look away. "I thought you would be angry, but I also thought you would help. You always had. I decided your anger was temporary and Owen's problem was urgent." "That sounds like Dad. It sounds like me." The distinction mattered. Mom's eyes filled, but she did not reach for a tissue or make me comfort her. Then, after it went badly, "I came to your apartment and asked you for $2,000 because I wanted the family to go back to normal," she said. "Normal was you swallowing something painful, so the rest of us didn't have to look at it." I stared at the dark surface of my coffee. "I am sorry," she said, "for knowing, for helping, for asking you to pay for my peace afterward. You did not ruin your dinner." "We did." The woman at the next table told her interview candidate that the company worked hard and played hard. A milk steamer screamed behind the counter. The world did not pause for the apology. I was grateful. If the room had gone silent, I might have felt pressure to make the moment beautiful. "Thank you," I said. Mom nodded. "I'm not ready to act like it never happened. I know, I don't want you making plans for me and calling them surprises. I won't. And if Dad asks you to talk me into something, I'll tell him to call you. He does call me. I'll tell him to accept your answer." I studied her face. "What happened with you and Dad?" I asked. "He is sleeping in the guest room. That feels dramatic. He snores less there." "Mom." She stirred her tea. "We are speaking. We are not pretending he was right. Those are different conditions than he is used to. You don't have to fight him for me." "I'm not. I'm fighting him for me." That surprised me more than anything else she said. When we left, Mom hugged me in the parking lot. She did not ask when I would come to Sunday dinner. Aaron proposed the second graduation dinner after discovering I still had a stack of unopened congratulation cards in a kitchen drawer. "Absolutely not," I said. She sat at my counter, sorting them into piles based on envelope color. Why? Because I am an adult woman who has already held one graduation dinner. You held a hostage situation with pasta. I don't need a replacement ceremony. You need to eat food with people who like you. I do that. You ate crackers over the sink on Wednesday. They were good crackers. Mara. The idea embarrassed me. Not because I did not want it, but because I wanted it too much. I pictured another table, another cake, everyone carefully discussing my degree while pretending not to remember what happened the first time. Then Tasha heard about it. She sent me a calendar invitation titled, "Dinner with No Solicitation." Luis accepted and added, "We'll leave checkbook at home. Dr. Patel said she and her husband would come." The two women from my evening program volunteered to bring wine. Aaron ordered a cake from a bakery Dad had never used. I agreed on 3 conditions: my apartment, no speeches unless they were funny, and nobody paid for anything on my behalf. Mom was the first family member I invited. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Yes." "Do you want me to bring something?" "Salad. I can do more than salad." "That is how these things start." "Salad," she agreed. I invited Owen over breakfast. He looked down at the diner table. We had returned to the same place and the same waitress had poured coffee before I removed my coat. "Is Dad invited?" he asked. "No." Owen nodded slowly. "Okay, you don't have to come if that puts you in the middle. I've lived in the middle so long I should charge rent." "I'm serious." "So am I. I'll come." He looked up. "Are you going to tell him?" "Mom knows. I assume she will. She won't tell him without asking you." That was new. "I'm not asking her to hide it," I said. "I'm also not inviting him. What would he have to do?" "Apologize." "He thinks he did. He said he was sorry the dinner became unpleasant." "That's Dad for 'I'm sorry you caught fire near me.' I need him to understand what he did." "What if he doesn't?" "Then he doesn't come." Owen rubbed the edge of his coffee cup. He returned all the dinner checks, he said. Called every person, even the ones who hadn't completed cards. "I know. Mom made him." "Good. He thinks that should count. It counts as cleaning up, not apology." "No." Owen nodded. "Fair." Dad called that evening. "I understand you're having another graduation dinner," he said. "I'm having friends over, with your mother and brother." "Yes, but not me." "No." He was quiet long enough that I heard the television behind him. "So this is punishment. It's a boundary. Those words are doing a lot of work for you lately. They need to. I returned the contributions. I stopped calling people. The campaign is over, because Owen ended it. And that is why you're not invited. You invited your mother. She participated. She apologized. I apologized. No. You described the evening as unpleasant and blamed me for reacting. What exactly do you want me to say? The truth. Your truth? No, Dad. The plain one. You used my graduation dinner to raise money for Owen. You used my guest list, wrote a pledge in my name, and announced a job for me because you assumed I would be too embarrassed to refuse in public. I assumed you would help your brother. Then say that too. I have said it repeatedly. You keep saying it like it makes everything else acceptable." He exhaled sharply. "I suppose your mother has now been forgiven," he said. "And Owen. They performed the right words, so they get access. They told me what they did without explaining why I should be okay with it. I will not beg for an invitation to my daughter's apartment. I'm not asking you to." His voice dropped. "Do you even want me there?" The question was bare enough to stop me. "Yes," I said. "I just don't want the version of you who still thinks he was entitled to take that night." He said nothing. "I love you," I continued. "That is not the same as giving you access whenever you want it." The line went so quiet I checked the screen. Dad was still there. Finally, he said, "Have your dinner." Then he hung up. For 2 days, I heard nothing. On the afternoon of the gathering, Mom texted that she had spoken to Dad. He knows he is not invited. He won't come. I let out a breath I had not realized I was holding. A second message followed. "He asked me to give you something. I told him he can give it to you himself when you agree to see him." I stared at the words. Then I wrote, "Thank you." At 6:10, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mom holding a salad bowl and Owen carrying a bakery box. Neither of them had brought Dad. Mom looked past me into the apartment. "Are we early?" 10 minutes. Owen said 6. I said 6:30. "You said 6-ish, Owen said. "I have never said 6-ish in my life." Mom carried the salad toward the kitchen. The bowl was large enough to bathe in. "I was told not to do more than salad," she said. "This is more than salad. It is still one category." Owen held up the bakery box. "I brought exactly one cake. No easel, brochures, or community leaders." "Did you check his pockets?" I asked Mom. He drove separately. "Smart." The cake said, "Congratulations, Mara." Nothing else. No slogan waited beneath the lid. No portion of my name had to go home with someone who believed I was ungrateful. Guests arrived until the apartment felt pleasantly too small. Tasha brought champagne that was actually champagne. Luis brought paper napkins printed with dollar signs and claimed the store had been out of subtlety. Dr. Patel and her husband carried a tray of stuffed mushrooms. Aaron showed up last despite having organized everything. "I had to acquire balloons," she said. "You were told no decorations. I heard no speeches. You heard whatever supported your plans. That is why we're friends." She released 6 navy and gold balloons into my living room. One immediately caught on the ceiling fan. Nobody sat where I expected. Tasha took the floor beside the coffee table. Dr. Patel's husband ended up on a kitchen stool talking to Owen about why live doves were a bad business model. Mom opened cabinets until she found serving utensils and then asked before rearranging anything. It should not have felt radical. It did. There were no speeches at dinner. People told stories instead. Luis described how I once rerouted a shipment during a fire drill. One of the women from my evening program remembered me distributing cough drops during a 3-hour exam as though I had been appointed by the university. Dr. Patel denied ever saying my final paper was surprisingly tolerable, but nobody believed her. Owen stayed out of the center. When someone asked about the foundry, he said, "It's becoming the size it should have been in the first place," then asked Tasha about her work. He did not tell anyone the campaign total. He did not mention the patio. He did not scan the room for people who might know people. Mom watched him do it. She caught my eye once and smiled. When Aaron brought out the cake, she insisted on singing. Everybody joined except Tasha, who claimed the song violated her personal standards. I blew out candles shaped like a 3 and a 6. "Did you make a wish?" Mom asked. "I'm 36. I have a project plan." "That's not magical," Owen said. "My plans usually work. Your wall art is crooked." I turned toward the diploma. It is not. The frame still leaned slightly to the right. Owen lifted his glass. "To Mara, who is wrong about one visible thing. That sounds like a speech. It's an observation." Everyone drank anyway. Dad's absence remained in the room without taking it over. Every time the doorbell sounded, some part of me expected him. Every time laughter rose, I imagined what his laugh would have added. I knew where he would have sat and which story he would have told about me refusing help with my shoelaces. Wanting him there did not mean I had made the wrong choice. That was the difficult part of a boundary. Nobody puts on greeting cards. The person could be missed and still not belong in the room. After Dr. Patel and the others left, Mom washed serving dishes while Aaron dried. Owen collapsed on the couch with 2 paper plates balanced on his knees, one holding cake and the other holding stuffed mushrooms he had wrapped in foil. "Those belong to Dr. Patel," I said. "She said to keep them. She said I could keep them. I'm part of your household ecosystem. You live 20 minutes away. Migration is natural." Mom closed the dishwasher. "Your father asked whether I thought you would notice he wasn't here." The kitchen went quiet. "Mom," Owen said. "What?" She deserves to know. I leaned against the counter. "What did you say?" "That of course you would. Did he say anything else?" "He said you might enjoy it." I looked toward the balloons, the empty glasses, and the cake with one narrow slice missing. "Did you tell him I did?" "No. I told him I thought you would enjoy your friends and miss your father at the same time." "That sounds complicated," Owen said. "People are," Mom replied. She dried her hands and picked up her purse. "I'm not asking you to call him," she told me. "He can call when he has something worth saying." She kissed my cheek and left with an empty salad bowl. Owen stayed to help move furniture back. He put the armchair in the wrong corner, denied it, then found the photograph I had taken before guests arrived and admitted the chair had somehow migrated. At the door, he handed me a folded check. "What is this?" "Next month. You already transferred $200. I sold the bar shelves. This is $500. You need that money. I need lots of things." "Owen, take it." I unfolded the check. The memo line said, "Boring actual debt." "You could pay on schedule," I said. "I could also pay faster when I sell something stupid." They were visionary shelves. They were $6,000 of steel and walnut that held bottles exactly as well as the shelves I removed. I put the check on the entry table. "Thank you." There. Was that painful? Deeply. He hugged me. It lasted longer than the one at our parents' house. Dinner was good, he said. Yeah, Dad would have liked it. I know. Owen left without asking me to change my mind. For the next several weeks, Dad communicated through small, direct messages. Congratulations on the Cleveland presentation. Your mother says Cincinnati is going well. Found a photo from graduation. Let me know if you want it. There were no assignments hidden beneath them. He did not mention Owen. I answered some and left others alone. Mom and I began having coffee every other Saturday. Sometimes we discussed Dad. More often, we discussed things that had nothing to do with managing him. She wanted to repaint the guest room now that he had stopped sleeping there. I helped her choose colors but did not offer to paint. Owen kept paying me. The foundry kept operating. Some months were still bad. He stopped describing bad months as emergencies and started describing them as numbers. Renee reorganized the booking system and renamed every file. Owen complained that professionalism was erasing his creative process. She told him his creative process had once booked a supply closet. Dad did not invest in the downsized plan. That cost Owen emotionally, but it also forced both of them to learn what their relationship sounded like when no rescue was underway. For a while, it sounded like silence. Then Dad started stopping by the foundry for coffee. He did not bring campaign ideas. Owen did not ask for money. They could manage about 40 minutes before irritating each other, which was still 40 minutes more than before. The photograph Dad mentioned arrived as a text preview, but he did not send the full image. It showed me crossing the graduation stage. The frame caught me after I had taken the diploma cover, but before I had reached the stairs. I was laughing at something the dean said. The crowd behind me was blurred. I wrote, "I want it." Dad replied, "Can I bring it?" My thumb hovered over the screen. After a minute, I wrote, "We can meet for coffee Sunday." He chose the same diner where I met Owen, though I never told him that was where we went. Our family did not have many neutral places. Eventually, we colonized all of them. Dad was seated when I arrived. A flat envelope lay beside his coffee. He stood, uncertain whether to hug me. I sat instead. "You look good," he said. "So do you." I looked tired. "You look good and tired." "That's fair." The waitress poured coffee. Dad slid the envelope toward me. Inside was an 8x10 print of the graduation photograph. "You took this?" "Your mother was crying too hard to focus her phone." "I didn't know you got one of just me. I got several. Most of the pictures were me and Owen." "I know." I set the photograph on the table. Dad turned his mug by the handle. "The dinner you had at your apartment went well." "It did. Your mother brought home enough salad for a week. That bowl was an aggressive act." He smiled, but it faded quickly. "I wanted to be there," he said. "I wanted you there. I didn't believe that when you said it." "Why?" "Because it was easier to think you were enjoying punishing me." He looked toward the window. "I've spent a lot of time deciding what you must secretly feel. It keeps me from having to listen when you say what you actually feel." I did not rescue him from the silence that followed. Dad cleared his throat. "I used your dinner to raise money for Owen," he said. "I knew you had not agreed. I thought if I presented it in front of everyone, you would be angry, but you would go along with it, because I wouldn't want to make a scene." "Yes." His answer was quiet. "I wrote the 10,000 because I thought people would follow your example," he continued. "I wrote financial coordinator because you had already been doing most of that work, and I assumed you would keep doing it. You didn't ask. No, you used my guest list. Yes. You knew the dinner mattered to me. I did. That was the hardest one." Dad folded his hands on the table. "I told myself Owen's need was urgent and your celebration had already happened at the ceremony. The truth is, his crisis made sense to me. I know how to be his father when he needs saving. And me, you've never made me feel necessary in the same way. I moved home for Mom. I worked at the foundry. I handled things for this family constantly. I know. You made yourself necessary to everyone. That is different from letting us think you needed us." I almost argued. Then I remembered the nights I drove home from class and told Owen I was fine. The promotion I declined without giving Mom a chance to object. Every task I accepted before anyone finished asking. I needed you at the dinner, I said. Dad nodded, and I was the person who took it away. Yes. His eyes had reddened. He blinked hard. I kept telling myself you would get over it because you're strong, he said, that you could take it. There was the sentence beneath the cards, the fundraiser, Mom's appointments, and every emergency that arrived already assigned to me. Being able to survive something was never permission to do it to me. Dad looked down. No, he said. It wasn't. He did not explain. He did not tell me Owen might lose the foundry or remind me how long he had sat in the arena. He did not ask whether the apology was good enough. I'm sorry, Mara, he said. I am sorry I took your graduation dinner. I'm sorry I used the fact that people trust you because I knew I hadn't earned their trust for the campaign. And I'm sorry I treated your strength like a family account we could all withdraw from. I pressed my thumb against the edge of the photograph. I believe you, I said. Are we all right? No. His face fell, but he nodded. We can have coffee, I said. We can see what happens after that. One thing at a time. Yes. He looked at the menu. Can I buy breakfast? I considered it. Breakfast, I said. Not a patio. I canceled my community standing speech. That's growth. Months later, I invited Dad to dinner at my apartment. Mom brought a normal-sized salad. Owen arrived after closing the foundry and placed his next payment check beside my purse without announcing it. Dad brought wine and asked where I wanted him to put it. When everyone sat down, he lifted his glass. May I? He asked. Depends. On? Who the toast is about? He looked at me. Mara, he said. Just Mara. I nodded. He kept it short. Then he sat, took the basket beside his plate, and passed it around the table. It held only bread,